welcome to the Bayesian Conspiracy. I'm Eneasz Brodsky.
I'm Steven Zuber, and our third seat's empty.
Damn it! What happened to Jace?
Jace is,
Dead? Abducted. In a different dimension.
let's go with a different dimension, because I just watched Into the Spider-Verse yesterday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And by dead, Jace would never be really dead. It would be like one of those coming back to haunt us afterwards sort of dead.
I'm not going to run at that joke. I feel like it didn't land.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But I'm not shaming it. It's just, I'm stuck on Into the Spider-Verse now. She's saving Denver in an alternate universe. Or they're saving Denver in an alternate universe.
He's saving Denver.
Jace, I'm sorry.
Dude.
I am scrambled today.
Okay.
If anyone hasn't noticed in the first 10 seconds, but I'll get it together. I feel like that's my excuse all the time, and I just need to figure out what my problem is.
Not enough drugs?
Yeah, that's probably it. Which actually is kind of the focus of today's episode, on how to get one's shit together.
Okay.
That's a weird way. That's a bad framing.
Yeah. No. That's not how I would have put it, but that's one way of putting it.
Me either. Bad segues are one of my pastimes.
Aw, bad segues are tight.
Yeah.
All right, so I just...
I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back about those bad segues.
Yes. Oh, let me get off that thing. Oh my god, this cannot become a fan cast of that.
All right, so we're talking about the pitch meetings on YouTube. Check those out; they're wonderful.
So the thing about the pitch meetings, I love them. There's a bunch of like jokes about movies, that the silly stuff that happens in movies that wouldn't happen in real life, and then there's 10, I think, somewhere between 8 and 12 recurring jokes that appear in every single episode.
I think it's 4 or 5, but I'll take your word for it. In any case,
yeah. I feel like a total dork for just like repeating things. I like remember being in high school and like quoting Monty Python at each other, and like we thought we were all so smart because we had all these Monty Python stuff memorized and nobody else got it, and so that was how we were the in crowd. But like looking back on it, I was like, oh my god, we were just playing the same in crowd game. And so I don't want to be like that, but also it's super fun.
But now we're self-aware of it, so
Yeah.
it's less cringy. I think it's hilarious, and I love that I've made super easy, barely an inconvenience, a catchphrase at work. Like with my team, this is something that, there was a thing I did, I guess time is weird and squishy now. It would have been a couple weeks ago. And it was going to be all big, the complicated thing. And I'm like, actually, no, because Django 2.2, the framework we're using is this cool advanced feature on it. It's literally 2 lines. And
Django?
It's the Python framework.
Is it named after the guy who got unchained and then killed people in the Quentin Tarantino movie?
I think so.
Damn it.
But Python is named after Monty Python, and like the source documentation has lots of references to the Monty Python.
Oh, neat. Okay. It all comes full circle.
It's not named after the snake. But I was like, oh no, check this out, because Django can do this. It's actually super easy. And then the guy is showing this to me, was like, barely an inconvenience. And I was like, exactly. So it's a little in jokes.
But I mean, it's like, it feels like Family Guy where they just reference other things that are funny as opposed to being funny. And
That's a good way to sum up Family Guy.
But I have so much fun doing it, There's a certain pleasure to it.
When Brian and I did the Doof and Chill for like the Meet the New Doof members on our first month on the network for that podcast, at the end Scott was like, I don't like this question because I don't believe in guilty pleasures, but like, what's your like guilty go-to TV show? And I was like, I totally agree with your assessment. There's no such thing. If you're having fun, who cares?
Yeah.
So
I don't believe that what is it? People say that I love bad movies or whatever because they're so bad they're good. Like I don't understand that mindset. Either I like a movie or I don't. And I think I honestly really like Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think it's a good movie, and I understand how like it's campy and it has low production value and all those other things that might make it bad, but like it makes me feel things, or it did when I saw it, when I was younger, and now I have the memories of those. And like when people watch The Room because it's so bad it's hilarious, I watch it and I'm like, this is just bad, man.
I'm never gonna see that movie.
It's just bad.
Yeah, no, fuck that. I've seen the famous couple clips that are in every joke thing about anything, and
then that makes me wonder, like, do they actually think Rocky Horror is bad? Do they? Now I'm like feeling all insecure because like I actually like Rocky Horror, and like if we watch it together, are they like the person who's laughing at my kid's jokes because my kid is a retard instead of because the jokes are funny or that the kid is cute,
or let's say to indulge the kid?
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, that's a difference between laughing to indulge the kid as opposed to laughing because the kid's being stupid and you're laughing at how dumb the kid is.
Are they like,
is it mean-spirited or is it appreciable, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't worry about it. Like,
No.
I like the things I like and I enjoy them, and I give that to everybody, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to say someone they're having fun the wrong way. You're having wrong fun, but I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I refuse to like accept any judgment anyone throws at me. I like watching Family Guy and American Dad. What's my current guilty pleasure show. It's been years and years since we watched it, and they released a couple more seasons of. It stopped airing a couple years ago. Cutthroat Kitchen.
Okay.
This cooking show with Alton Brown. It's hilarious. I won't summarize it, but we watched like the first 10, 11 seasons, I don't know, 6 years ago, and then they put out a couple more on Hulu. And so now we're rewatching the first several seasons, and it's been long enough that we've forgotten them. So like I'm rewatching a cooking show that's like, I mean, what could be more of a quote guilty pleasure than that? But I don't give a shit. Judge me. Try. Yeah.
Do you realize we haven't even introduced the show's topic and we're already like 10 minutes off topic?
Well,
I guess you can't be off topic if you never introduced the topic. But before we reveal what the secret mystery topic of today is, we are doing the sequence posts because that is what we do. So, starting with science as attire.
Cool.
The post starts out with a summary, not a summary, a quick mention to X-Men. And this is like always a timeless reference for any geeks, but the X-Men movie had just came out recently, so this was something that like anyone in the general American culture would have gotten, even if they weren't a geek. So
do you remember the opening to the 2001 X-Men with Patrick Stewart's voice over like that neuron little flying sequence with the credits? It's just like mutation. It's the core of evolution. And sometimes it causes radical. I forget what it was, but it was exactly this thing that he's talking about.
Cool.
And it was memorable at the time that he wrote this, and it's timeless, like he said. So
yeah. So, as everyone is familiar, you can have a mutation and that gives you superpowers. And one of those potential superpowers is Storm's ability to control lightning.
The quote that I remembered from this post before even having to reread it was, if one generation of mutation could cause a human being to be able to generate and throw lightning from their fingertips, that would outright falsify the theory of evolution.
Yes.
And, like, it's one of those...
It's followed by the line, it would be worse than finding rabbit fossils in the Precambrian.
Yes. And that was one of Stephen Jay Gould's like comebacks from like, how would you falsify evolution? This is obviously one of those bullshit theories, and he just mumbles into the microphone, or like kind of grumbles in the microphone. He's like, fossilized rabbits in the Precambrian, and it's like, yes, like that.
He did his voice pretty well there.
I did Richard Dawkins' impression of his voice. I didn't actually see Stephen Jay Gould do it. I'm not even 100% positive.
Was it Gould?
What did I say?
Oh, it may have been Gould, but the voice you did, I thought I heard Sagan in there.
Oh, I wish.
Okay.
No, yeah. In any case, I forget if it was Gould or whoever Dawkins is quoting, but I remember that quote third hand. So that's why the rabbits thing was also timely, because this was in the era of New Atheism books and all that stuff. So
yeah. He points out that X-Men comics use terms like evolution, mutation, and genetic code purely to place themselves in what they conceive to be the literary genre of science, which is something we mentioned last episode too. And Eliezer says, the part that scares me is wondering how many people, especially in the media, understand science only as a literary genre.
Yeah, he says that probably an actual majority of the people who believe in evolution use the phrase because of evolution because they want to be a part of the scientific in-crowd. Belief as attire, like wearing a lab coat.
Exactly. And this is, whenever I see those like, I fucking love science Facebook groups or whatever, this is exactly what I think of.
Yeah, and I remember conversations with people like in college and high school who would say things like this, and they would argue, basically the same people that were like in the era that I was in, like just coming out of like how much fun it is to argue with religious people. Mm-hmm. And they would, throw evolution talking points out, but they didn't understand what they were arguing in defense of. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make them, they happened to be right, but they were really just arguing for their side. Yeah. And they weren't arguing, they were arguing for the truth. It's hard to, like, what do you call it? If somebody is, doesn't really know what they're talking about, but is arguing for the right thing and using the right words. It's
lucky?
False knowledge. Yeah. Lucky is another great word for it.
I saw the best troll in the world recently. I think it was posted on our Discord. Someone says whenever he has meetings with philosophers over Zoom, he uses a fake background that's a picture of his current background, so that the philosophers will have true, justified beliefs that happen to be false.
Yeah, it's
or that happen to be not real information or
right,
something.
Based on information that isn't real.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because only a philosopher would care, and that's just perfect trolling.
Their epistemic status of that person's background is shakily founded. Yeah.
So, anyways, yes, the belief as a tire thing. I this is more of like a setup for other things, but it's an important point that a lot of people, I don't know, just care about looking like they're in the right group rather than really knowing stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, from a purely consequentialist point of view, it's like great as long as you're doing the right thing. You know, like I'd rather as long as part of your belief as a tire means voting for the right things or I don't know, advocating the correct policies.
I disagree entirely, because then they're like we just said, they're lucky, right? Like I also fucking love science, and I really hope that the people who fucking love science really do fucking love science, so that they can incorporate actual evidence and changing knowledge into their worldviews. But I get the feeling the vast majority of them happen to fucking love science because it supports their current view. And if the science were to shift, they would be like, oh, well, fuck those scientists, all making me angry and shit. And just not follow those things anymore. And I would much rather someone have an actual true belief, desire for true beliefs, and let them take let them.
I see what you're saying. I would rather have that too.
Yeah.
But if I don't get that, then at least have them I'd rather have soldiers on my side, even if they don't know why that's the right side to be on. Right? Now don't get me wrong. That's a bad way to look at the world. That I wish the world wasn't that way.
Yeah.
But in this tortured analogy, since our votes are soldiers, or since our votes are bullets, I'd rather them be shooting the right way. Like I would love for my people to know what they're doing and why, and have the right motivations, and the more the merrier. But if it's not going to be everybody, and like some of them are going to just do it just to impress their friends or something, like great, cool, I'll take what I can get.
No, I would rather have people voting against me, but who at least think that they're voting for the right reasons and actually be concerned about the truth, because those are people that I am confident would switch over to the right side if you could show them the truth, like with evidence and with argumentation. And like that is something that reality doesn't budge on. If there is a correct side, it is there to be found, and eventually either I'll go to their side or they'll come to my side, but the side will be right. Whereas the people who happen to be right and are recruiting science for their side as soldiers, that's great, but if it turns out that they're wrong, you aren't going to convince them. They will not stick to the truth. They just want you to vote their way. Like I think if you're not going with something empirical, like provable positions to decide how you vote, what are you deciding by? Are you deciding how to vote because of who your in-group is, or who has, the sexiest celebrity endorsements, or who has the greatest force of guns on their side? Because those are all things that I don't want to be the focal point of the battlefield. I don't want to fight over who has the sexiest celebrities, or who has the most guns, or who can most marshal, hatred or passion on their side. I want the fight to be over who can prove the truth of the matter.
I do too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I'll take what I can get right now. In an ideal world, that sounds perfect. But it's kind of like,
It's short-term thinking.
I am short-term thinking right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like right now stretching again the analogy more. We're at war now.
With who?
The wrong the people advocating for wrong ideas.
Will we still be at war in 50 years?
I sure hope not. But like right now, we need feet on the battlefield.
See, I think we've been at war for at least 100 years, maybe longer, and so I'd much rather have the weapons on our side that will have the correct side winning 50 years from now, as opposed to just winning right now in the short term and assuming this will not come up again.
Well, we'll keep indoctrinating them while they keep fighting. All right. We're getting away from the post.
We are, sorry.
No, you're good.
Damn it.
It's a good
Mind
aside.
killed again.
No, that's fine. Eliezer goes on to say, I encounter people who are quite often willing to entertain the notion of dumber than human artificial intelligence, or even mildly smarter than human artificial intelligence. Introduce the notion of strongly superhuman artificial intelligence, and they'll suddenly decide it's pseudoscience. And it's not that they think that they have a theory of intelligence which lets them put a calculated theoretical upper bound on the power of an optimization process. Rather, they strongly associate superhuman AI to the literary genre of apocalyptic literature, where an AI running a small corporation associates the literary genre of Wired magazine.
Right. Which is, now you see the flaw inherent in your system, right? If you have people associating with what they believe to be, science and lab coats and the attire of science, then if someone makes the argument, hey, this AI thing, we don't know what the upper limit of an optimization process is, but we think it might be much smarter than humans, and now suddenly they're not on your side because they're like, oh, that's just apocalyptic fiction. That's not real science.
So
And I don't fucking love apocalyptic fiction.
and yes, and I fully own the flaw of my thinking. Like I said, it's this isn't like what I advocate. This is where I think we are now. Like if Bill Gates wanted to give $1 billion towards safe AI research, and he wanted to do it to signal to all of his friends how smart he was, or because like, hey, look I'm very forward thinking or something. I don't care why he's doing it. I care that, hey, good things are happening. Like right now, he's on the track to cure, or like to solve the malaria problem on Earth, right? If he does that, I don't care if he's doing it just to for the social esteem. I don't care if he's doing it because he lost a bet. Like if he does it, awesome.
But do you think that's why he's doing it?
I think he's doing it because he cares.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually is convinced by both compassion and the science.
Right.
Which is why it's fortunate that we have people who are actually convinced by science. Whereas if all he wanted to do was look good to his followers, he would fund like more pre-K education or something.
Have you ever met like an aesthetic vegetarian?
What is an aesthetic
Like
vegetarian?
someone who doesn't eat meat because it's icky.
Oh,
Like just the idea of like, oh, just ripping into an animal with my teeth just feels gross.
I think so.
So like,
Sort of.
I feel like a vegetarian is on the
No,
right side of the moral fence on what to eat.
Yeah.
And if they're not eating meat for what to me don't sound like good reasons, like I don't really care. I think you're doing the right thing. Granted, I eat meat. I'm a hypocrite. I was vegetarian for years and fell off the wagon and never found it again.
So if the aesthetic vegetarian at some point got over their grossness of meat and was like, oh, this is pretty good, and started eating meat, how would you feel about that?
Bummer, we lost a troop.
Really?
I mean, what else would I feel?
Well, because you eat meat.
Right. I'm not.
So you
I'm a
don't care
hypocrite.
that much.
Right. I
Okay.
suck.
I'm not saying you suck.
No,
I'm
I'm
just saying you don't care that much.
I don't.
But you kind of care more about the extinction of the human species, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
I'm
whole
also
AI thing might...
I act just as much in favor of that like verbalized preference as I do about my meat eating thing though.
Yeah, okay.
I do basically fuck all to save the world. Like it would be nice to do more.
You help spread the word.
I help spread the word. I donate a little money.
You should probably kind of keep it on the down low that you're a hypocrite, though,
I-
while spreading the word.
Well, I remember my parents telling me not to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
They've both been smoking and still smoke for 40 years. I don't know how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they're right. They're like, don't smoke. It's bad for you.
Yeah.
The fact that they're saying that, whilst holding a cigarette doesn't make their statement wrong.
Okay.
It means that they
have an addiction.
Yeah, and it means that they don't seem to believe what they're saying enough to actually do anything about it. Granted, eating meat and not donating enough to Miri isn't an addiction. It's
So
there's
depends on how you define enough.
there's a weakness of analogy there, but like, what have I done in my advocacy for like animal
What I'm
health?
saying is, if Bill Gates did not care about science and believing things that were true, do you think he ever would have gone the route of donating money to AI safety?
Probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I hear what you're saying. And on a quick aside, I eat way less meat than I did 10 years ago.
Oh.
Actually, no, 10 years ago I was a vegetarian. 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I make an effort to buy like well-sourced things that I do eat.
Cool.
So I don't know. Like I'm doing. It's one of the. Like I also don't believe in like ethical black and whites. Like if you're, I don't know. So if you're donating to charity, for example, you should be doing what Will McCaskill and Steven Pinker or Steven. Wait, why am I blank? Jesus, he wrote Animal Liberation. All animals are equal.
Believe it's Steven Pinker.
No. Peter Singer.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, who was Steven Pinker?
He wrote The Rise and Fall, or the Better Angels of Our Nature.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
No, we're good. Like Peter Singer and Will McCaskill both live at like the comfortable poverty level. I think Will McCaskill I know he's like the youngest tenured professor, I think, at Oxford. So whatever you have to make to live in Oxford, I think he lives on the equivalent of like 36,000 pounds a year, and then he donates the rest. And like, that's great. And if we buy what he says, which I do, we should all be doing the same thing. What I do instead is donate a tiny fraction and realize that I'm doing much better than I would be otherwise, and better than most people.
Yeah.
So like, it's not necessarily about doing everything all the way.
It's about pushing that Overton window.
Yeah, and so like, if you're concerned about animal well-being and you like eating meat, maybe do 1 day a week where you don't eat meat. And this maybe will transfer in today's topic. Like this isn't, again, like a kind of thing where I can point to the sequence where I got this lesson, but like actually I kind of can, except it was a Scott Alexander post.
I think there was a sequence post that was of the, I don't remember what the exact term was, but it was the "don't let perfect be the enemy of the good."
Perfect. Yeah. So all right, maybe that was something I internalized without realizing it. But you can do better without having to shame yourself for not doing perfectly.
Yeah.
And while we're on the note of the sequences, I'll keep pushing through this one.
Okay.
Basically, we've kind of hit this one. Like the people who dismiss super AI but not standard AI aren't speaking from within a model of cognition. They don't realize they need a model. They don't realize that science is about models.
Yeah.
They're just hearing this and they've got it in their head as.
I love that line. That's really damning.
Yeah. And
they don't realize they need a model.
Yeah. It's damning only within like the social sphere who has the vernacular to like get why that's a sick burn.
Yeah.
To the rest of them, it's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What do you mean models? I got a train set at home, you know.
I think that's like, I mean, the namesake of less wrong. That's kind of the whole point of the Bayesian rationality movement, right? Is to make our models be less wrong over time.
Right.
Because more accurate models are better in every way for anything you want to do.
And that's, yeah, man, that sounds like a great like way to end the like core part of our episode. Is like the goal is to be less wrong. So what do you do to do that? And it's like, yeah, you make incremental steps. And it's not about perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It's the goal is perfection,
mm-hmm.
but the path there is to be a little more accurate whenever you can.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. Our next post is fake causality. And it starts out talking about phlogiston. Have we talked about the phlogiston thing before?
You know, this is going to be episode 11 or something, or 110.
Mm-hmm.
That puts us at like 4 years almost.
Okay.
My answer is, that's my long-winded way of saying I have no idea. Probably.
I think we have, but if we haven't, I'll give a quick recap for people who aren't familiar. I could have sworn there was an earlier sequence about this, but maybe not. Phlogiston was the medieval alchemical equivalent of the Greek elemental fire. It is how they explained what fire is. The examples given in the post are that when you burn wood, it turns to ash because the hot, orangey, burny stuff is phlogiston leaving the wood, and the ash that remains is, the original true material of what would be once the phlogiston is removed. And if you started burning something in a sealed container, eventually it would stop burning because the air became saturated with phlogiston and couldn't hold anymore, so it couldn't leave the wood anymore. That kind of thing. And he points out that phlogiston was a fake explanation. It didn't actually explain anything at all. The question is, what is the hot, glowy thing that happens when you burn something? And the answer is, that's phlogiston. Like, oh yeah, okay. It's within stuff, and then it gets released and goes to other stuff. And like, oh, all right, but it doesn't actually explain anything at all because your answer is basically a sequence of syllables that points at the thing you were asking about in the first place. It doesn't give you any ability to predict things, any ability to extend this knowledge into other areas.
It's less of a model and more of like a sticker you put on that part of your map.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how do you do that? Magic. That's not an explanation.
Yes. How do you do it? Phlogiston. Oh.
Yeah. And to the right mind, you look at that answer and you're like, that's not a fucking answer. So unfortunately, and this is something as a relevant aside, anyone should who has the least bit of like inclination to do so, read any book on like the history of science. I recommend I'm blanking on the author's name. It's A Brief History of Nearly Everything. Okay. And it's just a summary of how we came to know what we know. The history of plate tectonics, the history of how we know the earth is round, how we know the core is made of molten iron. Like all these things are stuff that I believe, but I haven't directly observed plate tectonics. Right. A friend of mine was in an earthquake a few weeks ago, but like, who knows what's causing that?
That could have been one of those angry gods.
Yeah, one of those
Vulcan, right?
phlogiston things. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So I know using phlogiston as a placeholder. I realize that's not what it was used for in the past. The takeaway from it that's really mind blowing is like all the stuff that we were taught in elementary school about like the basic facts of the universe are really, really new discoveries in the history of our species.
Yeah.
Like
there's people in living memory, or there's people still alive right now that had to be convinced plate tectonics exists.
In the original version of Carl Sagan's Cosmos, it talked about how we don't know what killed the dinosaurs.
Oh, really?
When they re-released it in like 1990 something,
okay.
They updated it a bit because it was in the mid to late 80s that the understood fact of the meteorite impact knocking them out was widely accepted.
Oh, shit.
Like, this sounds like a thing that we've known for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, meteorite killed the dinosaurs. Like, we've all always known that, but we have not all always known that. Your parents weren't taught that in school.
Well, I'll be damned.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah. So, like, that sort of reflection, and then you look back on, so you hear about the dumb things people were doing 300 years ago. You wonder how could they possibly have been so dumb? It's like, because no one had the faintest idea what was going on for the longest time.
Yeah.
And even now, I mean, we've got a great idea. I hate to be like one of those people like, the universe is still so unknown. It's such a mystery. There's plenty of cool mysteries out there to find, and there's lots of unknowns. We have a much stronger idea now than we've ever had in the past, and we've got a pretty good fucking idea. Like, the standard model of physics is not going to be completely thrown. It's not going to be completely wrong, right?
It's going to be adjusted.
Right.
Might be superseded by like a deeper knowledge, but it's still going to be a damn good approximation. Like Newtonian mechanics is still a wonderful approximation of physics for anything on the human scale.
Right. And, if you're doing chemistry, you're totally fine working with like the Bohr model, but like atoms are not little ping pong balls.
Yeah.
And when you're a theoretical physicist, it's a whole different landscape. But if you're to this, if you're wondering what'll happen when you're pouring a little oil on the pasta noodles that you're cooking to make it stop boiling or something, you don't need to be a theoretical physicist thinking about the wave function of what's happening at the quantum scale of it. It's like you just need to know, oh yeah, oil dissipates the surface tension and does something else. I'm not clearly don't cook either, so.
Right. I don't know what you're talking about. What is this oil that you speak of?
Can't you pour a little vegetable oil on boiling water to keep it from like going completely nuts and boiling over?
I have no idea because I do not cook. Like I said, I literally have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Well, this is an empirical question. I'll get back to you guys in a couple weeks.
Okay.
All right.
But the point he makes is that phlogiston was widely accepted for a very long time because fake explanations don't feel fake, and that's what makes them dangerous. And I don't know if any of our listeners used to be religious. I was as a child, and it just felt like a fact of the universe that the supernatural beings exist. None of it ever felt fake at the time because you don't realize.
Yeah, I've used this analogy before that, like, when I was a kid, I believed in my parents are vaguely religious to the point I couldn't even tell you what flavor of Christianity they are, if they have one. So I believed the vague facts of the Bible, just like I kind of believed that Japan existed. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd never been there. I'd seen it on a map, but I'd seen pictures of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh yeah, I'll take your word for it. And it just falls into the same truth bucket in my head as everything else. Yeah. I don't know at what age I started putting together a probably bullshit bucket and a definitely bullshit bucket, or a definitely probably bullshit bucket. But like, everything just kind of everything as a kid just went into that same like belief, add this to the things of things, Yeah.
I used to think that men had one less rib than women.
And yeah, because
that's not a fake explanation. It's just a fake belief, but a fake explanation is kind of the same way.
Yeah, like a fake explanation is like it seems like it's an answer, but it's not really. Right. And when you realize that you can't make a new prediction off of this explanation, it doesn't tell you anything. Yeah. It's an answer to a multiple choice question on a test. It's a lot like a password, but it's in many cases, or I guess in the case of fake explanations, it's actually worse than a password because it's actually wrong. Yeah. And the problem is that sometimes it feels like it's knowledge, mm-hmm. because you don't most of the time many people are running around, they don't realize that they need some working cohesive model of how things are supposed to fit together.
Well, I mean, phlogiston makes the fire hot. That's knowledge, right?
It feels like knowledge. Yeah. I can say that as a sentence. And if you ask me what does phlogiston do, I could say it makes stuff hot, right? So it feels like knowledge. Yeah. But when I ask you, all right, well, when I finish burning this pile of wood, will it weigh more or less than it did before I started burning it? Based on your phlogiston theory, what do you anticipate?
That depends on whether phlogiston has positive or negative weight, I guess.
Well, you're the phlogiston expert. You tell me, right?
I would have to guess that it would weigh less because everything has weight, right?
Well, is phlogiston going in or out? Is the other question.
No, phlogiston's going out because the ash is what would be like without phlogiston in it.
Okay.
So the ash would weigh less than the wood.
All right. Well, so then,
Which I'm actually not sure if ash does weigh less than wood or not.
it I think typically weighs less depending on what you burn.
Okay.
Wood I think weighs less because you're releasing the hydrocarbons when you're burning it, but like you're leaving some of the other stuff. I forget what wood's made of. It's been a while since I've taken a science class.
I mean, I could see wood weighing less just because a lot of it is blown out, typically, as cinders and ash and stuff that get carried out. But
and all the water in it will evaporate when it's being burned too.
Yeah, that's true. Any water that's left in it. But generally, isn't oxidization the process of adding oxygen to something?
Exactly. So like I think if you burn a magnesium strip, it'll weigh more afterwards. So like phlogiston theory wouldn't predict that.
Right.
Phlogiston is stuff leaving the system, not entering it.
Yeah.
It doesn't explain why when you cover a candle, it goes out. Like if you put a lid on a candle with like a candle in a jar.
No, it did explain it because the air became saturated phlogiston and couldn't hold anymore. It's not something you would have predicted beforehand.
Right.
But since they knew that's what happened,
they fit the explanation to fit the model.
Yeah.
Which is science backwards, which gets you fucked up.
Yeah, that's near the end of the post says, thanks to hindsight bias, it's not enough to check how well your theory predicts facts you already know. You have to predict for tomorrow, not yesterday.
I like that. That's a good takeaway quote too. So many of these are good bumper stickers.
Yes.
Or, maybe not bumper stickers because that's not going to entertain anyone on the road. But a lot of these are just great little sound bites.
I think
you have to predict for tomorrow, not yesterday. I mean, sounds like a tautology, but like it's not how most people run around all the time, right?
Right.
They say, I totally saw that coming.
Yeah.
Not, could you told me that yesterday?
Yeah.
Right?
No. Not, can you tell me tomorrow what will happen? Because if you asked, could you have told me that yesterday? They would have said, yeah, of course I would have told you that yesterday.
Right, yeah. I said it backwards.
Yeah, the real question is, can you tell me what's going to happen tomorrow? Cool. All right, so those were our 2 posts for today, and boy, did we get off on a tangent, but hey, it was fun.
That's why we're here.
Exactly.
If we stayed on topic and didn't ramble a bit, these episodes would be 90 or 60 minutes long.
And some people would be like, "Oh, thank God, please, please give us shorter episodes."
We're a bi-weekly podcast. We can ramble a bit.
That's true, and it's more fun for us, which is also important because we're the ones that have to come back and do this every couple of weeks.
Yeah, if this wasn't fun, we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But speaking of fun things to look forward to in the next fortnight, we are doing 3 posts. Brace yourselves, not 2. We're doing 3 because they fit together real well. We're doing semantic stop signs and the famous mysterious answers to mysterious questions and the futility of emergence.
Huzzah.
Which I'm looking forward to. Those are all great. This is all part of, I think, the map and territory sequence, which is the one that I remember reading first and having this was like all the this is so cool moment for me. And then afterwards you're still reading and learning, but this was the
really big.
This was the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is awesome. And then you're getting more awesome, but this is the first ride up, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the 0 to 1 change.
Yes.
As who was that, Teal or Musk that said that? I think that was Musk, right? The difference going from 0 to 1 is drastically more difference than from going 1 to 2.
That's a good quote, but I couldn't give you the attribution.
Okay. Alrighty, so on to our actual topic.
Let's see if we can segue this in. So that is one. This isn't a rationality technique, but that is one thing because all right. Today's topic that we've been putting off for ages, and we'll probably touch again when Jace joins us next week for next episode. I want to say next week. How do the methods of rationality improve your day-to-day life?
Yes.
And so this is a not rationalist technique, but one thing that I do to improve my day-to-day life is not care what people have to say or judge my stuff. So if they're going to judge me for rewatching Cutthroat Kitchen, y'all can shove it.
Yeah. That's right. I want to say real quick that this one, we're doing this topic because Pointless One is donating at $69 a month. Seriously?
Nice.
Oh, nice. But holy crap, that's also a lot of money per month.
That is a lot. Thank you so much for your. I know that's on the list of our patrons that we thank, but I somehow forgot the number there, and that is substantial and remarkable. So. And
they requested an episode on rational practices for everyday living, so. Hell yeah, we're going to do that.
I think you get to pick at least 2 more and join us for an episode whenever you want. So
Also, because they hated We Want More? What's the rationale there?
Oh, that's right. They wanted to support. I remembered getting this email now. I forget what their exact phrasing was. They wanted to support the enterprise of this sort of stuff, but without supporting that shitty podcast. I happen to disagree with their assessment of it.
Right.
Pointless one, if you're listening to this, which I hope you are. We Want More, in my super biased opinion, we'll take Inash's less biased opinion, but still biased probably. It's gotten a lot better. The first several episodes were rough. Brian and I didn't have a rapport. We didn't have I don't know if you've listened to any of the podcasts that Matt and Scott do for the Doof Media Network. I recommend them. Try them out. But they've known each other since, if not high school, college, and they can go way back. They have an ability to just ping pong. Hey, throwing this out there, you catch and do something, throw it back. Yeah. And it took me and Brian a while to get there, but we've gotten good at that now. Like, I think we've got a good flow, and more importantly, I think for the enjoyment of the audience, Brian's enjoying the book a lot more now. Cool. And it's not just like now; it's been since like chapter 15 or something. It took a while. Yeah. But the downside is that people who come to it, they're going to listen like, oh, I don't want to listen to someone hate this book for the next year, so I'm going to turn this off.
I didn't think he hated it that much in the beginning.
He was hard on, like, this kid sucks, this is so unrealistic, kids don't act that way. The standard kind of like things that if you're not already in love with the character, you'll point out that suck. If that's your take on it. However, his take is different now. I think he very much appreciates lots of stuff that's going on. So what I'm getting at is try it. Jump into one of the Stanford Prison Experiment ones. We're wrapping up that arc now. I think that they've been going great. So, and if you like it, shoot me a note. And if you don't, shoot me a note. Sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing, I guess, an episode on things that ways that rationality practices in just in our regular day-to-day lives, the ways they help us. I really wish Jace was here too, but maybe we can get some from him next time.
I think we'll probably do like a section on this next episode too, just because there's no way that Jace doesn't have stuff to contribute. So, yeah. So I think, if anything, they probably do this in a more methodical way than you and I do, and I think you do it more than I do. So I'm gonna do my best to play with this, but I don't have a list of things, but I'll see what comes up.
Well, you said so. One of them was not giving a shit about what people think as much.
Yeah, but that wasn't like in the sequences or anything, as far as I know.
I mean, it totally was.
I mean,
at one point when he did the clown suit metaphor.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I mean, it struck me. I'm not going against the crowd, and I'm not challenging the crowd because I'm not afraid of doing so. Like, that's more of the sequence inspiration stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just this is nicely summarized in some tweet somewhere that was like, if someone likes something, like, let's not shit on it because, like, life sucks, the world sucks, and like let's not shit on people's things that they like, the things that they find to enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I found a way to just internalize that, so I don't give shit. If someone is just crazy about football or something, I'm like, go nuts, that's awesome, good for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I couldn't care less about football, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, you like football, that's so blah blah. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anyone ever says that to me. If they don't like stuff that I'm doing, certainly I'll take that criticism to heart if it's something that I can improve on or something. If it's a project I'm working on, like, the reason that Brian and I record the episodes and put them out is so, like, people listen to them, and like that makes it a community experience. Like, it's kind of like writing a web serial like Methods of Rationality, where like sometimes what you're working on adjusts as the audience feedback loop informs the author.
I do think that's one of the things I disagree with Brian about. I don't think that Eliezer was influenced by audience feedback very much.
Me either. I was thinking more of Ward.
Okay.
Wildbow finished his, I'm not sure if it's the longest, it was his most recent one. It was the sequel to Worm, 1.6 million words, I think. And like he after he finishes the story, he writes like an afterword, like basically kind of like an autopsy of like, hey, here's what happened when I was writing this book. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned like there were things that he thought would land better, and so he pivoted on some things because he's very involved in the community. And that's
I think that's just a bad idea.
I think it's part of his writing process. Like, it's explicitly part of the challenge he sets for himself. And so I'm curious what an unfiltered Wildbow work would be like.
Well, it'd probably be like what Worm was, or at the very least the first half of Worm, because
you're right.
It took a while for it to get noticed.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember somebody wrote this scathing review. Mm-hmm. Somebody, and I disagreed with like everything that it said.
Apparently, you didn't disagree with the part where he said he changed the story for the whims of the audience.
Well, so if he quote mined from Wild Bill's Afterward, and he pulled out the wrong parts. He also said something about like how there wasn't enough world building or something. I'm like, but the world was built in the first part of the book. Like, I hate reading book 7 of a series, and they still introduce things like I haven't heard of it before. It's like, dude, I've been here. There was that joke in like one of the pitch meetings for Endgame, and it's like, wait, are we gonna like show Captain Marvel introducing to the team and show what she can do? And it's like, oh no, what do you mean? It's like we had the thing in like the after part of the last movie and Shadow movie. Like, what are we gonna introduce here? It's like, what about people who haven't seen the ones before this one? And they look at each other and like, ha, good one. Yeah, this is the world's most expensive TV series. We don't care if someone missed the last episodes. Like, so I don't want like a whole rebuilding of everything. And part of that, I think that part of that was intentional. Like, the city they were in wasn't named because it was a recovering apocalypse city, and everything felt transient, like it wasn't permanent because everyone was trying to shove things back the way they used to be. It was never gonna. That part of that was intentional. Anyway, I'm not gonna derail on that whole thing.
Alrighty. So, did you want to hit us up with another one, or how exactly are we doing this? I can go ahead with one of mine.
Yeah, go nuts.
Okay. So I have a thing that you don't see very often because of the nature of it. I have internalized the virtue of silence, which I believe is actually a Scott Alexander post, not one of the original Eliezer Yudkowsky posts, but, you know, it is still in the sphere of rationality. And this is the virtue of when something is really stupid and should not be spread anymore, a lot of people's first reaction is to be like, look how stupid this is. And God, that's a lot of Twitter. That's some YouTube out there is basically people saying like, look at these stupid people, look how stupid they are, or look at this dumb thing. And no, don't spread that. That is a giant mistake. If something is better off not shared with the rest of the world, the only thing you can really do is not share it. If you say, hey, everyone, don't share this thing, you're drawing attention to it.
By pointing a spotlight at it and saying, look how dumb this is, you're just amplifying it.
Yeah.
And charitably, through that framing, you're not spreading this misinformation. I guess you're spreading knowledge of it, but you're not spreading like this bad idea at face value. You're spreading it through a lens of saying, isn't this bullshit? Everyone now laugh and retweet, but don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Like, I will, if I see someone else saying something that's misinformation like that, I will correct them. But like, I wouldn't share some misinformation and correct it like that. The analogy that I make is if you've ever seen young kids that are still learning language, sometimes they will say a curse word on accident.
This is a great analogy. I already know where it's going.
Okay, yeah. And if everyone freaks out and is like, no, don't say that, you can't say that, the kid right away is like, has that word seared into their brain and will be unable to resist saying it sometimes because like it suddenly has strong emotional valence.
And it elicits a reaction. So all they have to do is just be sitting there at the dinner table at 4 years old eating their applesauce or whatever and be like, shit. Yeah. And everyone's like, no.
Right.
But like, shit.
And even if they're taught that it's bad, I mean, they're going to, this is now a thing that they know that they, it's naughty to say, right? Whereas if they accidentally say shit when they mean to say ship, and you just, flow with it, like you know what they said, or maybe like you correct them because if when they mispronounce elephant, you're like, no, it's elephant. And when they mispronounce ship, you're like, no, it's ship. And if you don't make a big deal about it, they don't even notice. Like, it just goes by. And it often can be the same thing. Like if a kid hurts themselves, like falls down, knocks his head on something, if the parent runs up, it's like, oh my God, are you okay? The kid starts crying like, oh fuck, I fucked myself up. But if you just kind of look and see how they react without your reaction, if they're just like, and then go back to playing, it probably wasn't that big a deal, and you don't need to make it a big deal. It's the same kind of thing. Don't draw attention to things because that suddenly makes them really a really big deal when it doesn't need to be, and does the opposite of what you want. And this is exactly why I am not on Twitter, because I have looked at Twitter, and as far as I can tell, the only thing it's good for is amplifying things that should be silenced entirely.
I think there are correct ways to use Twitter. I don't use it, but like I know that, like, 'cause I'll see I'm on subreddits that I'll post pictures of some tweets, and some of them are really funny, and I think that's the way to do it. You follow. I mean, this is my own advocacy. If I were to get back on Twitter, I would follow comedians and a handful of scientists and a handful of people of interest. And that's it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't follow the news. I wouldn't follow the president to see what shit's coming out today. I would not use it as a rage machine. The downside is like it's really sometimes nice. Some people just love that rage machine. And
There's a lot of comedians and scientists you can't follow because they'll fall into the Internet of Beefs thing too.
yeah, I think, and it depends. Like some of these are just like, I can't think of an example right off, but like, just a one-line joke. I think Anthony Sulk, I forget the guy's first name, but his Twitter handle, I still remember it, is The Incredible Sulk.
Okay.
He writes for Family Guy.
What?
And he just writes jokes. And there are a lot of jokes that back in my day of Twitter, it was 140 characters, 144.
144.
144 characters. There are a lot of great jokes you can get out in 144 characters. Cool. And there's nothing else to it. It's just you read it and you're like, this is fucking hilarious. And then you get to move on.
Yeah.
I know, at least, I think what Matt Freeman does, who has been on the show a few times, check out his episodes. He, at some point in the last couple of years, just like went through and purged. I'm hooked on that word because I've listened to the Mind Killers podcast. Thanks, David. He just went through, and whenever something made him angry, he would just purge. He would unfollow that person, and now Twitter's a positive experience.
Awesome.
And like I think that's the way. And this isn't life advice. This isn't Steven's life advice corner, but because even I'll get on the hate train once every few times a week probably.
Wow.
Like I will watch the hate train go by a few times a week. I don't get on.
Okay.
I don't participate in any of these, but
okay.
I'm on a handful.
That's very different.
Oh yeah, that's why I clarified. But I mean I'm still on r/keep track r/enough Trump spam.
Just keep track of the Trump thing.
It's Here's the litany of crimes that have gone on. So for example, they're reducing the sentence on Michael Flynn at the direction of the Department of Justice, which usually doesn't get involved in this. After Flynn confessed under oath to have lied to Congress, and it's like one of these insane fucking obvious travesties of miscarriages of justice, and yet like I'm aware of it and I'm annoyed that I know it, but like part of me wants to be in the loop. But I think the real reason is it's like sometimes watching the hate train go by makes you feel alive, right?
I guess.
So some people,
yeah.
I've got a problem,
yeah.
But I don't let it bring my day down, and I do that on purpose. The overwhelming majority of subreddits I'm on are things like humans being bros, and like r/aw, which is just cute animals, and cats learning to cat, and adorable little things that put a smile on my face. Made me smile is one of them. Cool. Right? So like I pepper in the nasty shit, and if I don't feel like it, I'll skim past it and I'll find the next cute picture of a cat. Like some days you just don't have the energy for it.
And I do want to say before we move on that this isn't always a thing just for like social media outrage stuff, even though I do also think that this is a great time to apply this to your everyday life. But like the original post was about stuff that might actually be bad to spread, either for culture or even for you personally. And the temptation is just to be like putting it out there and commenting on it. And oftentimes the best thing to do is stay completely silent and let it go away. And you'll never know when someone is doing that if they're doing it correctly. So it is one of those virtues that if it's being practiced, you don't see it.
What was that great line? It was in that episode of Futurama where Bender meets God. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you do things right, people won't know if you've done anything at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a fun episode.
Yeah.
All of my, most of my, I think, applications of rationality to real life are kind of more at like the meta level. Mm-hmm. Most of them are like very general things.
So it's a more general thing that can crop up in day-to-day life.
I think the most like salient thing that jumps to mind, people get hung up on thinking about how hard something will be, mm-hmm. and then they don't try it. Mm. They think about this and they're like, oh no, I could never do that, and then they just don't. Okay. And sure you can't if you don't even look at it. Mm-hmm. Like I think I might have mentioned this on this podcast. It's hard to say. I have a friend I went to high school with who we weren't that close. So I don't know if there's something he always wanted to do. I imagine it was. He was always very funny, but at some point after high school, I think he must have said to himself, I want to write for SNL or for some comedy show. Mm-hmm. Like I want to be a comedy writer. Mm-hmm. And he has attributions on IMDb for helping write episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Awesome.
I don't know what it took to get there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's hard, mm-hmm. but I doubt it's as hard as most. Well, I mean, it's got to be hard because there's not a million writers who do this, right? Yeah. But the point is he didn't stop at thinking, I sure would like to do that, but I'll bet it's too hard. Yeah. He said, I'd like to do this. I wonder what it takes to get there. And then he's like, I think I could do that. Yeah. And that, I think, is more often than the case than people think. people give up before even looking at how hard a problem would actually be. They look at it, assume that it would be very hard. Sometimes they're probably right, but it's probably less hard than they thought.
There can be a lot of instances where, something looks overwhelmingly hard to do, and you don't have to like look at the whole project at once. You're like, if I knew someone who had done this thing that I would like to get done, what is the first step they would have taken along the path to finish this thing? And if you can look at that first step and then evaluate, could I do that first step? Then maybe you can do the thing, right?
That's the advice I've had. Something like half a dozen people reach out because I mentioned that I got into programming on this podcast, and maybe I'll put together a useful post that we can just put somewhere.
Yeah.
Because my advice isn't very like, here's the 10 things you need to do. There's a million posts like that. I haven't read any of them. I bet most of them are garbage.
Okay.
Like the main thing that took for me, because I can only speak to my experience and what I can kind of extrapolate from others, but like the main thing that happened to me was I looked at I had considered doing this before, and I was like, that's got to be too hard. There's no way I'm smart enough. Everyone who's been doing this, I've used this analogy 100 times. I had this just mental image of people who were like programmers for a living. They were just like, they've been coding their own games since before they could walk. Mm-hmm. And this black box of arcane knowledge that I'm 20 years past the boat, or past the, is that what it's called? Past the boat? There's a...
Sure, yeah, the boat left 20 years ago. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm way too late to try and get on this, and I'm just not smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I mean, that's where I was for at least a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Granted, luckily, I was already like trying to be in the habit of like trying to do stuff at that point. And so I had a friend, another friend of the podcast, Zeke Aran, has been on a couple times, sent me a book called Automate the Boring Stuff. It's online for free. It's a Python tutorial. And I didn't get very far in it before I realized, I was like, oh, like I can read this. Like you're not writing machine code.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Well, I mean, doing the hard stuff is hard, but like just learning how to do it is actually easy. Like you can, if you pick up a language, like any modern-ish language, you can just look at it and see what it's doing. Yeah. And you don't have to be a programmer to recognize, oh, okay, it's going through this 5 times and it's going to, add 1 each time. It's going to print up to 5. Like that.
Did I ever tell you how I learned the basics of programming?
No.
Oh my God. So my first computer was the Commodore PET, and it was one of these things that apparently does have a hard drive. It's on tapes, cassette tapes, literally, but it doesn't have like an inbuilt hard drive, and you couldn't buy any of the programs. But along with the Commodore PET, I got a book called 101 Games for Your Commodore PET, which was, the thing is, you literally write the programs you want it to run. And so this was just, like 300 pages of code printed on the words, printed on the page. And it was like, type in these things exactly as you see them on the page. After you're done, hit run, and the game will play. And so the first several, I just kind of typed in things, didn't know what the hell was going on, like 10 space, GOTO space, 20, right? But I started noticing after a while a trend like, oh, this X, this is a variable. They're storing data there, and this iterates it, and like I couldn't get all of it just by putting things in by hand and making the connections myself. But after a while, I got the basics, and then I picked up a programming book to like teach me the actual syntax and the things that I needed to know. It was amazing, just like typing in code by hand and looking at it with my bare eyes. Just for a while, I put things together.
That is one actionable piece of advice I could give, is to actually write code rather than just watch people do it on YouTube. Mm-hmm. When you're watching it, it feels like you're learning it, but you're not.
Okay.
Pause videos, write it out, and tweak with it. Mm-hmm. Like, if they're going to do something and, they're going to put in parameter 400, put in 410, see what happens.
I mean, the really amazing thing is, like, to me, it was almost like writing in a language I don't understand. I was literally just transcribing characters on a page to the screen. But after a while, I started noticing trends.
You were the Chinese room.
Yes. Yeah.
And then before you knew it, you knew a little Chinese.
And the thing is, like, they still used English words. So GOTO was go to. And I noticed that, like, the number afterwards corresponded to all the numbers in front of the lines that I was typing. So I could put things together.
Programming has gotten a lot easier and a lot more fun since then.
Yeah. You no longer have to type out your games before you can play them.
That's right. And what's cool about that is, I'm not sure, I doubt that your Commodore PET could play very complicated games, but like once you figured out what you were doing, you're like, oh, I can give myself more hit points.
Oh, yeah.
I set that on line 16. Like, all right, cool. I'm going to put 100,000 there. Oh wait, no, shit, 256 bits. I'm gonna put 250 there. Or excuse me, 8 bits. But yeah. The meta lesson of like, if there's something you want to do and it seems impossible, at least do yourself the favor of spending an hour on the internet looking what it takes to get that thing done. I don't know what it takes to. I mean, so I did this, with a career that didn't pan out because I didn't like it. I wanted to know what it was like to be a private investigator. That'd be a lot of fun. Thought it'd be like Sherlock. I liked that a lot. Turns out it's not. And I was like, for a while, I'm like, oh, I could never do that. But then it was just a matter of, and you don't have to, quit your job and go all in to try something out, right? That's the cool thing about programming too, is like, do this for an hour, do this for a couple hours a week and see if you fucking hate it. Maybe you do, and it's not your thing. Like with the, it's about seeing how hard it is to actually get started. And I think you will find yourself surprised more often than not at how easy something, not easy necessarily, but how much less daunting it is when you see, here's the path to get there. And you're like, oh, it's not 1,000,000 steps, it's 30. And I've got 10 of those under my belt already. I didn't even know that. And of course, if you want to write for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you probably won't be able to, right? Just because I doubt the show will go on long enough for you to break into the industry and start writing for that particular show. But if you want to write for a comedy show, if you want to be a chef with your own restaurant, if you want to, I don't know, insert a thing, name something. We'll see if we can you.
Oh, me personally? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. If I want to be an actor in a Hollywood movie.
That sounds impossible, right? That's actually great. I wish I thought of that one. Like, I think of that and I'm like, oh yeah, no, never. I don't look like Chris Hemsworth, and yet you watch movies. Not everyone's Chris Hemsworth, right?
You can pull off Tom Holland.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. A slightly older Tom Holland, maybe.
I don't know, man. You look really young.
He looks 22. I look 25.
Okay,
do I look 25 yet?
Slightly older.
Come on. My voice is deeper.
How old is he really?
I think he was in his early 20s when he did Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay, because I was going to say, in Spider-Man Homecoming, he actually looked kind of like a teenager, I thought.
He was the first
which was
Spider-Man this century to look like a child.
Yeah.
And it fit perfectly. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I liked the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I even liked the Andrew Garfield ones.
I never saw those.
They were fine.
Okay.
That's the best I can say for them. There were parts that I really liked. They weren't good, but they were more like the MCU movies than the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire ones. But Tobey Maguire ones were like written before those movies came out, and they were much more like, let's make a comic book a movie, not let's write an amazing story with comic book characters.
Right.
But that said, they were still great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So like, I think about this and like, do I want to be an actor? And then like, I think my immediate impression when you said it was like, I could never do that, and yet. Like, I didn't even think about it. That was my knee-jerk reaction after just going on about this lesson. Right. And so you push back against that reaction and say, okay, well, hold on. What does it actually take? Should I, do I go to improv classes and get, my anxiety of acting out of the way? Do I move straight to Hollywood and live in a van and start auditioning? Like, I have no idea. But the point is that there's steps to do, and you can look up what they are. I bet you start as extras in shows and, start getting some lines. There's
commercials
maybe, yeah. There's an SNL actress, I don't know if you call them actress, performer, cast member.
Okay.
I forget her name. She might be new this year or last year, but I've seen her in the background of older episodes for years. Now she's getting talking bits and some segments. Like, cool. It's just a matter of being present. And granted, she had to be on the show first, but maybe that's another thing you have to accept. Like, hey, you're going to be in this industry for 5 years before you ever say anything in front of the camera. Yeah. Who knows? I'm making all these numbers up, but like, the point is, any one of you guys can go out and be an actor if you want to, right? This sounds like I'm giving, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and this will be $50 for that live speech. But I'm serious. I think people stop at, like, I could never do that. I hear this all the time. And it's like, why couldn't you? And sometimes there's a good reason.
Right.
More often than not, there's not. And because more often than not, the reason is, I think it's too hard. And it's like, well, why do you think that? It just sounds hard. It's like, that's not a good reason.
I mean, technically it is hard.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds exactly as hard as it is. And if you're not willing to do stuff that's hard, maybe this isn't for you.
Yes, there will be work involved, but I think it's less hard than it sounds like.
Okay.
Like, I don't think I could be an astronaut. Right. But why do I think that? Like, maybe if I dedicate the rest of my life to it, I could be. This would be the kind of thing I would have to dedicate the rest of my life to. I can't half-ass my way to space.
Do they still require them to be in the military?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, because one of the Backstreet Boys...
he wasn't really an astronaut. He went into space, which is different.
What's the difference?
Well, because
And I don't know if he actually made it to space. I know he went.
made into low.
I know that he went through astronaut training and everything.
Okay.
I think that he was going to go to space. I'll have to double check this. I only know this because he was on a TV show I was just watching. I forget what it was called, but he was hosting like a space camp. And Rachel explained to me why it was perfect that this guy was hosting it, because he was training to be an astronaut.
Okay.
I think his sponsorship got pulled before he went to space or something.
Like an astronaut actually has responsibilities. They have to make the shuttle work and do things once they're up in space, and like, be an actual person that other people's lives rely on.
I didn't know that we were at the point where it was cheap enough to send people to space who were basically useless.
Yeah, there's space tourism.
Already?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
What
it
century
takes
is
millions
this?
of dollars, but yeah.
I didn't know about this. I thought that right now everyone who went to space had a critical function.
No, not everyone.
Oh my god. That is remarkable. All right, new life goal. Save up and go to space.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to wait till it's really easy to get to space.
So you don't have to pay however much it is.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to save the rest of my life to piss it all away when I'm 75 years old to, spend 10 minutes in space. Also, I'm a big fan of adopting like a let's wait till all the bugs are worked out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Granted, if a passenger plane to space blew up, I think they'd stop doing space tourism. So I bet that hasn't happened yet. I'm sure I would have heard about it.
Yeah.
But like I've joked before, maybe not on the show, that like I'm not going to be on the first ship to Mars. I have a friend who wants to be, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be on the second ship, maybe the third.
Do I know this friend?
Yeah, he was one of my groomsmen. The same guy who
Okay.
I mentioned in the car segment. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
My friend,
all right,
Brandon.
I know.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not sure if he still
Dude's
feels
got
that way.
balls if he wants to be one of the first people to Mars.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, if we get I think that he said if they're taking volunteers, he would sign up. And I'm like, I'll sign up for Voyage 2. I'll let you guys be the pioneers because I'll let you guys work all the bugs out. I'm also not going to buy the first, new version of technology, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when the stakes are way lower, I'm not going to waste my money. I'm not going to risk my life on the cool new thing.
I will say, just looked it up. Space Adventures is the only company that has actually sent paying passengers to space. So it's still pretty damn rare. The first 3 participants paid in excess of $20 million each for their 10-day visit to the International Space Station.
That sounds like a really good deal. If you have $20 million to spare.
Yeah.
I was going to roll my eyes, and I thought it was going to be a quick trip to low Earth orbit before they circled back down and they got like a minute of weightlessness. 10 days in the ISS?
Yeah. Virgin Galactic says it can do the thing where it takes you, like you said, the low Earth orbit for a little while for $250,000. But again, who cares? Whereas 10 days in the ISS, that's like legit shit.
That almost brought tears to my eyes. That is remarkable.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were there yet. Good for us, humans.
Yeah.
All right. God, that's awesome. Cool. Well, that's exciting.
Hell yeah.
So here's
now
a great
we have
example.
a goal. We need $20 million.
Well, but like that's the thing is like, how do I go to space? And granted, get $20 million is now the harder step in this process.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it might be easier to become an actual astronaut.
right. But that's really cool. So sometimes things are a lot easier than I thought, and I didn't know all you had to do to get to space was write a big check.
Yeah.
That is cool.
All right, so I also have a more meta thing as opposed to like a single individual technique. But I do this on not a daily basis, but it's a common thing in my life. To set the stage, the fundamental question of rationality is what do I know and how do I know it? And that makes you a bit more secure in your beliefs at first, at least the ones that you thoroughly investigate and that pass your test and aren't jettisoned with the other ones that turn out to be bullshit or not well supported. But the longer you go on in the rationality scene, the more often you find places where you weren't quite right and you have to adjust your beliefs, or some places where you were like just flat out completely wrong. And that's good because you're always updating your beliefs. You're getting a more accurate model and you're learning how to interpret the world more correctly. But the more you see this happening, or at least in my case, the more I have come to accept that I could be very wrong on things that I am very sure about. So I am much more live and let people do what they want, as long as it isn't directly hurting someone else. So to give the most recent example, in our last episode when Jace was like, yeah, I'm going to do the polyphasic sleep thing now, I was like, well, that sounds like a terrible idea because everything I've ever read about it has been about how it was absolutely the coolest idea ever, and then someone tried to do it, and then it ruined their life for the entire time they were on it, plus another month or 2 of recovery afterwards, right? So when Jace mentioned on the podcast, I quickly threw out the disclaimer like, hey, everything I've heard about it is that it's a bad idea and it ruins lives, but go ahead, maybe you found the right way to do it.
Ruins months, not lives, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Ruins your life
for a series of months, yeah. But maybe you have found the way to do it right this time, because that's what we're all shooting for, right? How to make the world better, and you have to try something new to do that. If every time someone came up with a new idea, you'd be like, no, that's not going to work. We've done this before. Then nothing new would ever get tried. So I'm like, yeah, give it a shot. Just as long as you're not hurting really other people. When on the Mind Killers, when someone said, God, what do you think about, I think it was Wes that asked, what do you think about Georgia basically just completely opening up? And I was like, well, might suck, but let them try it. Either a lot of people are going to die and they're going to regret it, or that's not going to happen and we will get some more data. Either way, we'll learn more, and they're the ones that want to take this risk. So let people take risks if they want to take risks.
Yeah, that's more complicated because that is hurting other people. Like, I mean, so if the restaurant you work for is now open and they say you can come back to work and you're like, I don't want to die, no thank you.
Yeah.
Well, then you lose your unemployment. So it's like, come back to work. And I remember seeing, like, I think it was a restaurant in Texas, forbidding their employees to wear masks.
Forbidding them to wear masks?
Don't wear masks or don't come in. And because it scares customers or something, apparently. Now, I think only the dumb customers would be, turned off by that, and the smart ones would be, thank you for not breathing on my food.
Maybe they have a very dumb demographic that they serve, though.
And that must be what's going on there. So, the market will speak to the wisdom of that move, in a couple months with how that works out for them. But, like, the Georgia thing is more complicated. But, as far as personal experimentation, go nuts.
It's the same thing with Magician David that we had on the show, and his what I consider crazy magic stuff. I'm like, it sounds like nuts to me, man, but you're doing your life how you want to do it, and maybe you'll find some crazy new brain hack that the rest of us can all implement, so go for it.
Yeah, and I'd be more inclined to talk him out of it if he's like, oh yeah, and I've got this guru, and he only charges me $10,000 a year. Like, if that was the case, I'd be like, dude, I think you're being huckstered. Shysted. I don't know, whatever you call it.
Both probably.
Hustled. That's what I was looking for. But
I would say the same thing, but if he kept going for it, I'd be like, well, it's your money.
Oh, I know, but I would have made an effort to talk him out of it, at least to do some more homework or something, right? Yeah. And like that said, this isn't like an endorsement to try every stupid thing.
No.
But it is.
Please do not.
It is an understanding that some things that are folk wisdoms are taken by folk wisdom to be stutid are in fact not. And it's like, we need to do an episode on Eliezer's book, Inadequate Equilibria, at some point. Because he opens up with that anecdote, I guess you can call it, that data point, that his then wife has whatever, seasonal affective disorder, really bad. And to the point where they were trying to find a second place to live during these winter months. Because apparently the Bay Area wasn't even sunny enough in the winter. And I loved his thinking, because he's just like, okay, look, it's because there's less daylight. It's a matter of light, right? Fuck this. And I think he spent $500 on light strings and just put them all up around the apartment, and it alleviated some of her symptoms. And so it's like, well, if it was that obvious, why wouldn't have anyone tried that? And then he goes on. That's more the thrust of the book. That's why I opened to that analogy. But if someone suggested that to you and you're like, oh, I'm sure that would be a thing if that was already going to work. You're like, well, maybe not. Maybe try your own thing. Especially, I'm way more enthusiastic about endorsing that sentiment as a whole when the cost of entry is low. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, it only costs the price of a small condo. Especially depending on what it is, right? Because anyone with a sick relative or something, or if you've got, there was a great episode. In fact, we talked about it with Brian Dunning on his first interview on the show, or his first time he was on the show. It wasn't much of an interview.
I don't know. Some costs are much bigger than others. I guess what I always go back to is people have a right to be wrong. I very strongly believe that anyone has the right to be wrong, because it's not that easy to tell when someone is wrong. But, and also people have the right to use up their own bodies how they see fit. And I mean, there's some complications in there, if you have children or dependents that are dependent on you. But for the most part, I figured this was going to affect Jace's health, both mental and physical health, in a bad way. But, I said that, and Jace wanted to continue. And I was like, all right, it's your body. It's your health. You can do what you want with it.
It's interesting. I kind of want to push back on both of those.
Okay.
Only in some circumstances. You have the right to be wrong. Can you expand on that at least before I start hitting at something that isn't there? Because if someone's wrong, I want to correct them and have them be right.
Well, Yes, but I don't want to correct them through force. I would like to
Me
correct
either.
them through. Well, I mean, yes, I agree with that. You also feel that way, but there's a lot of people out there who don't and will say that I don't care what you think about this. You have to behave in the way that I think is correct.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, and I also, I guess I'll defend somebody's right to say something stupid. They have the right to go to Nazi rallies without masks tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
If that's
yeah.
what you got planned for your Sunday afternoon,
Thank you. They
go nuts.
Yeah.
But
They don't have the right to hurt people of different. Well, they don't have the right to hurt anyone, period. But they have the right to think that other races are inferior, even though I wish they wouldn't, and I hope that we can persuade them otherwise. This is not a thing where there should be legal force used to correct their opinions.
Okay, so when you say they have the right to be wrong, you mean that we shouldn't force them into doing the right thing.
Yes.
And also for like the high-minded reason that, and that's probably what you were getting at, is that like we might be wrong.
Exactly.
It's not like we're wrong about racism, but we could be wrong. Like imagine if they outlawed polyamory.
Or imagine if they
Right.
outlawed LSD.
Right. Speaking of high-minded, like so, I mean, they could outlaw something that like actually would help people. Examples abound. The other one about
And
like,
even like if LSD actually is long term bad for your mental or physical health, I mean we have alcohol and nicotine as legal drugs, and I think people who indulge in nicotine, or alcohol for that matter, are wrong to do so. Even though I am a person who does drink, I know that that's a bad idea, but I have the right to be wrong about that because I'm not hurting other people, like as long as I don't get behind a wheel or something.
yeah, and like the other part about like the right to wreck your own body, like so the example I was thinking of was from, I forget the episode number, but the Skeptoid episode. I think you can only listen to it now if you pay, I think, to support the show, because he had to switch to a semi-paid model. The last 50 are available for everybody all the time. But the transcript for the episode on Skeptoid.com is Despicable Vulture Scumbags. It's in the first 50, I think, episodes. And it was just a response to somebody writing in talking about how, and we talked about this with our episode on Brian, which is free if you want to go listen to it. Somebody wrote in saying like, hey, my dad or somebody has ALS, and he is dumping in tens of thousands of dollars into what I know to be a sham treatment.
Yeah.
And it's something like, electrodes and water that he puts his feet in or some bullshit that'll never cure his ALS.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's his money and he can do what he wants with it. I'm not so much worried about him squandering an inheritance or anything. And now I'm playing this from memory. It was more a concern of like, he could be putting this towards something that might actually help. And instead he's giving all his money to this snake oil salesman. So what the hell do I do? And in that one, I would push back hard. I luckily don't have any family with severe health issues that they're treating with magic. But if I did, I would like to think I'd be very adamant, and I don't know what, at what point my adamantness would have to just stop and be resigned. At some point you have to give up. But like, I'm not going to just like look at it and be like, oh, well, good luck to you.
Well, I think that is actually one of those really good examples of the right to be wrong, because he is wrong about that. It is a terrible waste of money, and it is supporting con artists,
But don't
which is awful. But I think he has a right to be wrong about that and spend his money how he sees fit, because I would also like the right to buy modafinil if I think that it will help me for something. I want to be able to make what other people think are mistakes if I think they're not mistakes. Whether it be modafinil or LSD or some new experimental treatment that everyone else is like, this is bullshit, don't do this. And I would be like, I don't know about that. I think maybe I do want to try the baby food that has fish oil in it, or whatever it is that is not approved.
Yeah, I think the difference, like, if I had really good reason to believe that what you were doing was killing you, and you just didn't know them, or maybe you had heard
Then
them
you could try
but
to
disregard
convince
them. That's what I'm saying. Your right to be wrong doesn't mean that I shouldn't try and make you less wrong.
No.
Right?
You absolutely. If depending on how much you care for me, I would expect you to. But also, it shouldn't be illegal to do those things.
Okay, so you're talking more about like force of making people. Okay, gotcha. Like it's different than, I don't know, watching your parents waste all of their money on some bullshit pyramid scheme.
Right.
Like you might go, I mean, I don't know what I would do if my parents were like, hey, we've got this great investment opportunity with whatever, some whatever fruit juice pyramid scheme, whatever it is. I'm like, no, fuck you guys, stop, keep your day jobs. Like, I can see.
But what if someone was pushing that hard against you investing $1,000 into Bitcoin back when it was $10 a coin?
But now I'm seeing the distinction you're talking about. It's one thing to say, like, yes, you should do your best to inform the people that you care about and everyone else on the best information available. It's another thing entirely to make buying it Bitcoin illegal.
Right.
So I see.
Ultimately, you have the right to be wrong about Bitcoin's future.
The legal right.
Yes.
Okay, now I get what you're saying as far as...
at some point your family will be like, okay, fine, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. When you say, I have the right to waste my money on maybe not even Bitcoin. Maybe it's, like, what, Dogecoin.
But if in 2006 I had spent $1,000 on Bitcoin, then who would be laughing, 3 years ago when I sold? So,
but if you put $1,000 into Bitcoin when it was at $12,000...
then yes, then I would want. Then that's the thing is, I'd want my savvy-minded friends to be like, no, Steven, it's peaking, bubbles popping. This don't buy now. You're fucked. Yeah, but would I want a legal moratorium against making a bad investment? No. Yeah. Okay. So the legal right to be wrong and
so that's where my belief in the right to be wrong really extends into the whole allowing, being semi-supportive and allowing other people to do these experimental things. It's just, whereas before I would be kind of freaking out, being like, oh God, don't do that. Now I'm like, well, the risks, and I wish you well. I hope it goes for the best, even if I am worried that it won't.
I got dragged into a sales or a pitch meeting for I forget what they were even selling. It was some pyramid scheme. And the first red flag was that someone on Facebook reached out to me who I hadn't seen since high school, and I would have been in my early mid-20s, and they were like, "Hey, Steven, some friends and I are working on this really interesting thing. I think you should come check this out. We've got a thing like on Saturday at 8." And I'm like, "This sounds like I'm going to be sacrificing a ritual, but fuck it, I got nothing going on Saturday. I'll come take a look." And they were really dodgy about answering questions beforehand because they've been coached not to answer questions beforehand. Because I Googled the company, you see the word pyramid scheme on the finished Google search, and I'm filling in the gaps here, but I'm assuming that's why they're so dodgy about it. I get there, I watch it, I read the pamphlet they give me. On the back of the pamphlet, it says that 1 in 200 people make their money back.
Oh my God!
Because it was like $2,000 to get in.
Oh my God!
And it was in the really small print, but it was in the documentation they give you. And I showed her that, and I was like, there's like 40 people here. The odds of any of you guys getting your money back is not great. You're not going to be like the guy in the video we had to watch who has a jet ski or a boat or whatever it was, right? Yeah. Like, you guys are not getting there. And in fact, I'll bet you $1,000 that you're not going to get there. I would love that bet. If in a year you own a jet ski that you're not making payments on for money you made doing this, I give you $1,000. I really should have done that, but I didn't have $1,000 to gamble back then. So what am I getting at here? Nothing. This ties into. That's what I did. When I left, I'd said, I don't think this will work. This sounds like a pyramid scheme. So no, I'm not buying in under you. I'm sorry, but also I encourage you to get out. Like, I do your own thing. I hope it works out. But here, look, they don't think it'll work, or they're being forthcoming with how unlikely it is to work for you. Yeah. The person that they brought in who got you into it, who's now trying to get us all into it, is the top of this pipeline, the top of this pyramid for you guys. They're probably not making money on this yet. And there's like 40 people here. You guys are not getting this together.
Speaking of trying to bet your friend $1,000, is that on your list at all?
Betting on stuff?
The willingness to bet on beliefs, yeah?
No, but it should be. I also don't make as many formal bets as is popularized in the community. I think I've made one, and I'll have to pay out. I think we'll have the numbers in 8. I don't know. I made it with David Spearman about, I think more youths will vote this election than voted in the last election.
Okay.
I forget what number I said it was, but I think I bet like $10 or $20, like whatever. Yeah. But I mean, this isn't one of the ones I was going to burn one of my things talking about. But yeah, that's one I think we can put out there together, which is.
I actually bet very, very rarely. It's just not a thing I do very often, both because, I don't know, for a number of reasons, but the mindset of like, because a lot of people just have a hard rule against gambling. Don't do it, it's bad. And that's actually a good hard rule to have. One shouldn't gamble. But I don't think wagering on beliefs is really gambling. I think it's more of a way to calibrate how sure you are about the world and making it actually matter. And I think have just the mindset of thinking, am I willing to bet on this? And if I was, how much am I willing to bet? How sure am I on this sort of thing? What odds would I accept? Is very valuable to have, even if you don't actually make the bets.
And those can be really valuable, even if you never put a dollar down.
Yeah.
I could imagine. Well, I'll leave a political example out because I was going to just invent it. But I've got a great example from. I could never find a link to it because I saw this 10 or 15 years ago. But it was like Penn Jillette talking with somebody like during one of his shows, or talking to somebody during one of his shows, and it was like a card trick. And he's like, how much do you want to bet that your card's on the top of the deck? And the guy was, or no, excuse me. It was like, hey, how much do you think your card's in the deck? And he's like, absolutely. And he's like, how much do you want to bet that it is? And the guy's like, nah, I'm less sure. And it was either that or like, I'll bet you $100 it's not, or something. And it was like, okay, yeah, never mind. Like, I thought that I was confident, but the second I was asked to actually put any skin in the game, I'm out, right? And then when you can go into that mindset, you realize that you're not that confident at all, and it helps keep you calibrated, even if you're not losing money. So, as far as the one wager I have on the Discord's like all witness or bets bear all witness or whatever, it's small potatoes. If I lose $10, I lose $10. I'm not going to bet a large sum. Certainly because I wasn't really as confident as I was with my friend at the pyramid scheme thing. That'd have been awesome if I made 1,000. The downside though, of course, is that then
she would have lost a lot of money, and now she owes you 1,000.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I'm knocking on her door every give me my $1,000. I'll send my goons. So I wonder what the market rate is for good goons. That's an aside question. We were talking about the Harley Quinn show, which is worth watching.
Very fun show.
It was on
one of my favorites currently.
I came across this great gem, and it was like the most inspiring 10 minutes of podcast I'd heard in a while. And I sent it to you. I sent you guys a message about it. It's episode 200 of Sam Harris's podcast, which has gotten surprisingly better since the lockdown, and because now he's just doing like pretty much laid back conversations with guests. And it's a lot less of like the dumb shit he was doing 6 months ago. Anyway, episode 200, Creatures of Habit. It's a conversation with James Clear, and it's at some point in the last 35 minutes of the podcast, maybe. I mean, the whole thing's worth listening to because it's just about like what are habits with people, how do they work, where do they come from, that sort of cool stuff. But if you want the bit that was really inspiring, I found a one online, or a link that I'll put on the podcast in the notes, and the short summary of it, and I'll find as much as I can from this to read from because it's really, really cool. Basically, in 2003, the British cycling team, they hadn't won in, I want to say, decades, in any like national or I don't know, at some point, Olympics, whatever. Point is, the team sucked, and they were like, we want to do better at this.
The one factoid that really stuck out to me from the link you sent me was that there was a bicycle equipment manufacturer who would not sell to them because they were worried if anyone saw the British team using their products that it would lower, the brand in the eyes of the public.
That's awesome. And that wasn't in the podcast description or the summary that he gave in the podcast. So they were notoriously bad to the point where some people didn't want to sell to them.
Yeah.
So you got to suck pretty hard. And so the question is like, all right, well, how do we do better? What are the greats doing that we're not? Mm-hmm. And like, obviously they're looking at like what the greats are doing. And they're like, well, we feel like we're doing all those things. And so this is the generalizable lesson, is that they tried to find, well, rather they brought in, let me see if I can find them. It doesn't matter. So they brought in a new performance director. There it is. Dave Brailsford. And this guy was like, look, it's not about shooting to the top. It's about finding marginal improvements wherever we can. Mm-hmm. And when I say wherever we can, I mean places you guys aren't even thinking to look. Let's bring a variety of pillows on tour, and you guys, you sleep with, one pillow a night and decide, and you guys, whichever one you find works the best, we're going to use that brand of pillow for you. You're going to get the best sleep you can before this. We're going to try, let me find some of the examples of things that they did. Cause like a lot of them are outside the box. Like they painted the inside of the trucks that they transport the bikes in white so they could spot dirt and grime that you would otherwise miss in a gray truck.
Yeah. Because when you're talking about a high-performance bicycle, even little bits of dirt and grime in the gears make a difference.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, he was talking about literally like just anywhere, any little place we can eke out a 1% improvement in that when that one sub area is worth doing.
And that's the thrust of the I think that's the title of the essay. Like, what is it? This coach improved every tiny thing by 1%, and here's what happened. God, that's clickbaity.
Yes.
But the 1% improvements motif is common throughout the James Clear's work. So like, yeah, keeping the bikes clean, trying different bike seats, that stuff. That's easy, low hanging fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's find the small, hard to find fruit. And it's things like they hired a surgeon to teach the riders the best way to wash their hands to reduce their chances of catching a cold before competitions.
Cool.
Like that's outside the box thinking, right?
Yeah.
They determined the type of pillow and mattress that led to the best night's sleep for each rider. They I mentioned they painted the thing. There were a handful of other examples, but like the point is that in just 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team dominated the road and track cycling events at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, where they won an astounding 60% of gold medals. 4 years later, the Olympic Games came to London, and the Brits raised the bar as they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. Nice. Like, and this wasn't done through finding the best super mutant that they could throw on a bike and have him just be, the top dog. It's like, no, we can find all these little marginal improvements. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, finding those in if you're not a cyclist and you don't have all these ideas to look for now, finding these in your day-to-day life is the challenge, but it's something that you can totally do. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing is that, like, I think a lot of people, if you're anything like me, which probably most people have their stuff together better than I do, obvious things like eat better, eat a little bit better. It doesn't have to be like jump straight to a insert complicated diet.
Yeah.
I don't eat like complete dog shit, but I I could do better.
Just a little bit of exercise now and then.
Yeah. And
it's amazing how sedentary modern day humans are.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't put an effort into it, I think I could go literal years between needing to stress some of my muscles to their maximum potential.
I remember the last time I've done, maximum potential. Does that just mean as doing as many reps as you can before your arms fatigue? Or
no, that just means like having to flex it as hard as I can possibly flex it for one thing of anything.
I see.
Like, how much effort does it take to get out of a chair or to walk across the room or click a mouse? Like, literally, I am never using that muscle to the strongest point that muscle can be used for years at a time.
Unless you make yourself do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I work out every day because I recognize that it makes me feel better. Let's see, 2 or 3 weeks ago, might be 3 or 4. Again, time squishy in these weird times. I started doing yoga every day. Cool. And some of them are like I don't have the best. I've complained about my body before. My body doesn't like some of them, so I don't do those ones. I'm not going to fuck myself up. Mm-hmm. But the rest I do, and it's like it's amazing how like you can hit a small muscle group that you didn't even know you had, and you're like, oh man, that feels cool. Like little, I don't know. So I'm, and it's something I don't mind spending half an hour a day doing because we're not doing anything else anyway. So, I don't know. Like, I might have brought this up years ago on the podcast. And this is like the most superficial example, but I remember raising this concern, and this is kind of the answer. So like the concern was, I remembered when I got an Xbox 360, my previous system before that, the regular Xbox had the red, yellow, and white cables for video and audio. Mm-hmm. And my Xbox 360, it came with red, yellow, and white, and then like the green and blue ones. And I was like, oh, that's where the HD comes from, is those extra 2 cables, because I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. And then I'm playing like Skyrim and Call of Duty with my coworkers. And at some point, one of my coworkers visits, and he's like, why don't you have an HDMI cable? And I'm like, I thought that's what these were. And he's like, no. And for $20, I radically increased my ability to enjoy what I was playing on these things.
Nice.
And so this kind of, I remember at the time, and even like years later looking back, I'm like, what else am I $20 away from like a big life improvement? Granted, playing video games, that's a, very fringe thing, but it's something I was enjoying doing. And like being able to see your opponents in Call of Duty when they're not, Lego pixels in the distance, that helps you win. And if you're having fun winning, and you can do that better for $20 and like also just improve the quality of whatever you're consuming. Yeah. Again, I realize that's a super low stakes example, but it's illustrative of the fact that like I might be $10 away from a big improvement in all kinds of areas of my life. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So like it kind of put me in this little bit of like latent background nervousness of like, what else am I not optimizing on that I could do really, really easily? Yeah. And it made me kind of keep a lookout for those things. The problem is if you don't know that there's something that can be improved on, you don't know what to look for.
Right.
So like you don't know what areas to look into.
Like you wouldn't have known about the HMI thing if your coworker didn't say something.
Right. So sometimes it's just like one technique that I have tried to generalize is anytime I'm annoyed by something, like I'm like, God, I wish this worked better, or whatever it is. I'm trying to think of an example. Again, well, this is again the dumbest, lowest stakes example, but it's the first one that came to mind. There are better examples of this, I'm sure. The Apple TV remote is a swipe touchscreen thing because fuck Apple, it can't be buttons, and we would constantly overshoot what we're trying to hit, especially when we're trying to type in something in the search bar. Luckily, it knows how much it sucks, and there's a voice search button. But sometimes you're scrolling down to a video and you go 3 past it because the swipe is too big, and I'm like, this is so fucking annoying. And so, like, I had a little flag that goes up whenever I think this is so annoying, and I was like, okay, what am I annoyed at? The swipe sucks, and I'm like, well, hold on. I just jump in the settings, jump the swipe power down to like medium, and it jumps less far.
Nice.
Like, so that didn't cost me any money. It took me 5 seconds. So if you're looking for an actionable piece of advice, I realize this is so, like, all my examples are really low ball.
But that's how you build up quality of life improvements. Lots of little things.
Yeah. And I mean, even like this can apply to like boring examples of things at work. But like, I mean, at my work, I'm sure, other people's work have more interesting applications of this stuff, but like a lot of parts of my job involve like deliberate optimization. If you're doing things the slow way, it drags things down. So, but that's more like being paid to do it and less like doing it to increase quality of life, like you said. I don't know. I remember at some point, like whenever a light bulb goes out, I started buying like the higher like radiant bulbs or something. They're the same wattage. They take the same amount of energy to power, but they're more. They feel more like natural light, and I like those a lot more. It keeps my mood elevated.
Cool.
Like I don't know. So again, these are all really low ball examples, but maybe that's also kind of part of the point. These are all fractions of a percent of improvement, but they lead up to a better day, and it leads up to better weeks, and leads to a happier Steven, right? And if that's your goal, if your goal is a happier Steven, I'm kidding. If your goal is a happier you, then that look for little things that you can do to improve your life, right?
What if your goal is a more rational you?
I mean, that's not the topic, but yes.
It's kind of like rational practices for everyday living, right?
Well, but presumably it's like, do you want your life to be better by it, or do you want to just be more rational? Now, granted, we think those are one and the same.
Right. That's why the question, right? If you can make your life, if you can improve what your rationality is like, the improvements will come with that.
Yeah.
God, that was a terrible sentence.
No,
But if you can improve the amount of rationality skill that you have, that'll improve your life in the long run.
That's the hypothesis anyway, right?
Yes.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
In fact, this episode's partly inspired by a response to an email we got from somebody who was asking, like, does this actually do anything? And there's a note in here from Jace in the notes section of our secret crib notes for these episodes that there's nothing of substance that we can respond to. It just says, I'd like to address this because it was definitely responsible for improving my life outcomes. So we will have to have a footnote on this next episode. But
I do think life, how it can improve life is a slightly separate topic of like what are rational practices that you can do, though.
Yeah, because like rational practices you can do. In fact, this is another one that also improves your life. But like, I mean, so half the things that I do that improve my life just come from like the easier part of rationality, like basically like skepticism. So like being less sold on bullshit, having a better bullshit detector is one big thing. Having the ability to form clearer positions / beliefs in your head.
For me, a big one, I know I've said this before, is just having a range of probabilities in your beliefs rather than, I believe this is true or this is false, right?
Yeah, recognizing that beliefs are confidence intervals.
Yeah.
And aren't on-off switches. So you don't even have to sit. I've never sat down with a pen and paper and done a Bayesian calculation before. I've seen them. I could see the math. I could plug in chug numbers if I wanted to. I've never bothered. Now that's probably not a badge of pride for someone who does a podcast like this, but the takeaway of it is that like it's more of a framework for how to view your to inform your view of the world. My beliefs in things aren't binary, they are confidences. And that's also just true. that does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I think like one of the best rationalist practices you can have, the one I would recommend more than anything else, is to actually be concerned about if what you believe is true. And really take that seriously. Not just like I want to be right, but I want to know what is true, even if that would prove that what I think is wrong.
You can't do better if you're not right, or rather, if you're not getting less wrong. It sounds like that was a really apropos name for this website, but like if your goal is to improve something, again, if the British cycling team, to take that easy analogy, if all they wanted, if they thought that all they had to do was practice more, they wouldn't have been ripping gold medals away from everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just about that. There were other areas to improve on, and if all they thought was like we're just not riding enough, then like they still wouldn't have won.
Yeah. So there's a wide variety of things.
Yeah. And like part of the low hanging fruit is like getting enough. And this is not the hard symbolic logic stuff that you'd have to pass a test on in college, but like the basics of a logical argument. And while being able to throw down a fallacy flag on someone else's argument is like an easy go-to for an online argument, if you're not doing it that way, but in a way to better yourself and realize like, oh wait, sorry, that was, or to yourself, you're putting together an argument, you're thinking, oh no, wait, that was a slippery slope. Let me make sure, is the slope actually that slippery? Oh no, wait, that was an ad hominem. I'm attacking the person, I'm not attacking the actual argument. Or the hypocrisy thing. That's an ad hominem. Again, if you're going to throw down the badge with the word on it, right? And there are like there's a similar vernacular that, again, you can use as a password on a multiple choice test, or you can use to inform your life better, like planning fallacy. I tend to be on time for things because I give myself extra time to do stuff. It's funny when that doesn't work out, but in my experience, that's mainly when there are more unknowns in what you're planning, and that's just the name of the game.
And I gotta say, as someone who is on the receiving end of your punctuality, because we record in the Brodsky International Studios that you have to drive to, I appreciate it so freaking much. It is amazing to have someone that reliably is pretty much always going to be at the agreed upon place and time if you've agreed on a place and time.
The key is to never count on good traffic. Yeah. But that's just for punctuality. But I mean, like, and also we should mention this is the first time we're recording in Brodsky International Studios in a couple months.
Yeah. It's been a while. It's really nice to be able to record in person again.
Yeah, whatever. The apocalypse is still happening, but we got sick of not seeing each other's faces. Right. So we're safe distance. We're both isolating in our real lives. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's the thing I was gonna say. Like, I don't trust some people, like the people at my work that I went for one day back into the office, and there were two people that just didn't wear masks. Don't think they even brought masks. I don't trust those fuckers, and this is why in general I don't trust most people. But I trust you to be responsible for the most part, and you can't completely isolate yourself forever. If you have a circle of people that you can trust, I feel okay with being with them, because if you have some non-social distancing with a couple dozen people, that's not the problem. The big problem is being in large groups with lots of strangers, like concerts or sporting events or whatever, where these things spread like crazy.
Or just even the office.
Or even the office, with people that you can't trust. Because, I don't know, maybe those people, if they're not wearing masks in the office, how do I know they're not going out to clubs and concerts and shit?
Well, mainly because those places are closed right now, but the point taken.
Yeah.
There was a thing I saw, I think there's a subreddit, this is one of those hate ones that I just found, and I'll probably leave eventually, but it's called Leopards Ate My Face.
Okay.
And it's mainly people who are bit in the butt by things that they seem like they're advocating for, but then oh, I never thought this would happen to me. I never thought leopards would eat my face.
Nice.
And it was hey everyone, it was a cut of a Facebook post where they whited out the person's name. Hey everyone, I just needed to put out there that I tested positive for COVID, so this is for everyone who came to my barbecue this weekend. I'm really sorry. You guys should all be extra careful and get looked at and probably try and distance. And it's yes, never thought leopards would eat my face. So yeah, I had a friend over for a movie last night. We didn't share a glass or anything, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But also, he's been at home for the last 6 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
I'm concerned every time I go out to the store. I don't want to get on this because
Right,
this is one of those
yeah.
hate trains, but I'm already there, so I'll jump off the train in a second. But I'm at Costco earlier this week,
Okay.
and they've got a
I'm pretty
sign on
damn
the
impressed
door.
with them. Yeah.
Well, yes, that says you have to wear a mask,
Mhm.
and they've limited the number of people that can come in at a time.
Mhm.
That said, it felt crowded. I'm not sure if they still have this, and there was no line.
It was much less crowded than other times I've been in Costco.
Oh, good. Well, when I was in there, a couple people, because you can't enter without a mask, which is tight.
Yeah.
Apparently, they don't have people walking around making people actually fucking wear them. I
Oh,
passed
they
a
took their
number.
masks
I
off?
saw a number of people with it sitting around around their neck.
Oh my god.
And I'm watching these people just like, I'm doing mouth breathing and just like sitting there. I'm like, I didn't talk to anybody. I do the same thing whenever I go to Costco. I wear headphones and sunglasses the whole time. So like, I'm kind of in my own bubble, but I'm just like, dude, this isn't for you. We're not trying to tell you what to do. I'm passing old people in here. Also, I passed an old lady wearing it, not covering her nose.
Well, then.
And like, so she's
done-
just doing it wrong. I don't think she's doing it stupid. Like this guy who's just like, I'm done following the rules.
Oh, you think she just didn't know that's how masks work?
Maybe.
Come on. If you can drive yourself to a Costco, you know that the mask is supposed to cover the breathing holes.
Some people are really dumb. Maybe she's thinking I'll just breathe through my mouth while I got this on or something. I don't know, right?
Okay.
I guess maybe I'm putting too high of a prior on the fact that like she's old and in the demographic that could get very, very sick. You'd think she'd want to be extra careful.
Maybe she wants to die. Maybe she's like, I am over with this. Please, Jesus, take me now.
Then just run to the courthouse where people are having all those fucking, bring your guns to work day and
Right.
scaring all the elected officials. Just go there and ask to lick some doorknobs. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
All right. So, got a couple of listener feedbacks to hit.
right on.
Cool. So, Velcro posted in the Discord, not sure if this is the right place, which, first of all, let me stop it right there and say, there is no wrong place. Like, I, for example, saw this feedback and I copied it, so that was obviously the right place in retrospect. On the other hand...
All the wrong places are where we won't see them, right?
Yes.
So there are a lot more wrong places than right places.
Well, I mean, that's part of the thing about Discord is you can't see everything on the Discord unless you're there all the time. And I know I'm not there all the time. I know you guys aren't there all the time. So it's hard to say. The Discord will get noticed. The Discord will get a lot of other people talking with you. So the Discord is great for that. And the Discord is by its nature temporary. It scrolls away after a while. And so you can say things that you probably wouldn't feel comfortable saying like on a subreddit where it's there for posterity, right? On the other hand, it won't necessarily be seen, and Discord and subreddit is just so different, so I don't know if it's the right place. It's certainly a place, and it was seen, so sure, why not? I like the Discord. I spend more time there than on the subreddit, but I realize that the subreddit is like a, in theory, better place for feedback type of things.
Yeah, if you want to guarantee we'll see something, email us at BayesianConspiracyPodcast@gmail.com, or is it TheBayesianConspiracy@gmail.com? I'll double check.
Okay. But Velcro's actual comment is...
It's BayesianConspiracyPodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, nice.
If you want to guarantee we'll see something, I've got it on my phone.
Okay.
If you want to guarantee we'll see something, email it to us, and there's a 100% chance we'll see it. If you are okay with us missing it, just post it randomly in Discord. If you want to guarantee that someone will probably look at it, then tag one of the hosts. Don't tag us a ton because I'll start ignoring them. Yeah. But I get tagged very seldom, and so I see everything I'm tagged in. I think you could even tag at conspirators, like our role, and we all get pinged. So,
and if you post it on the subreddit, I will definitely see it at some point.
Perfect.
This is about the question about the teacher that turned the metal plate around just before the students got in and asked why the opposite side from the heat source was hot. Anyways, the Velcro's actual comment was, I think the unfairness of the physics teacher's question was that it was not a physics question. It was a critical thinking question or a problem-solving question disguised as a physics question. If you had asked the question in a philosophy class or a creative writing class, you probably would have gotten the right answer from a student.
And I think that's a fun prompt, like a fun challenge to it anyway. I like where they're coming from, that it does seem like an unfair place because the students are used to being posed questions they can answer.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, this one was, in theory, answerable, but not with the tools they were given. This was a new challenge. Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Haha, you didn't know that word was in Latin or something, whatever, some trick. Right. It's interesting because they were the only ones that would be equipped to answer it so wrongly. Mm-hmm. Like if they'd asked that in philosophy or creative writing, you wouldn't get a bunch of bullshit wrong answers.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, someone might say that makes no fucking sense, but because all the physicists in this parable have been taught that they have the tools to answer these questions, they tried to apply their tools, and they weren't applying the ultimate tool of like, does this phenomena even make sense with what you're trying to do to it?
Which is exactly the lesson I was trying to be imparted.
Yeah.
And also, with the story being phrased the way it was, it's much more memorable and made the point Eliezer was trying to make. So even if it was unfair of the physics teacher, it made for a good sequence post.
Yeah, and I think the key of it was this was the guessing the teacher's password or false knowledge or one of those.
Yeah.
So, like, if it was not in a physics class, they wouldn't have tried to use their passwords to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a philosophy class, they wouldn't have said, well, maybe because of heat conduction.
Right.
Right?
So, yeah, that puts more, brings more to the light the fact that it is about guessing the teacher's password rather than true knowledge.
Yeah.
Because, they were using the passwords appropriate for the classroom they were in.
Like, if this happened in real life and you got a 0 for the day and that impacted your GPA and your chances to get into college or something, then yeah, I'd call it unfair. That's bullshit. I came here to learn physics, not to be tricked. I could see that being a legitimate defense in an actual case in a real school. Yeah. As far as a parable, I think it's great.
MacDam writes, also regarding sea lining, there's a workaround to all of it. Start by showing you've put in work into figuring it out on your own and that you're stuck. And yes, it's usually us that have to do the rational discussion for both sides if the other side is unwilling and if you still want to engage them. This is actually pretty good advice if you do want to engage someone, which a lot of times I just don't anymore. But if you do, that is one thing that will help. I don't know how often. I would say at least half the time. There's times when people are not arguing in good faith and they just don't want to. They just don't want to talk about it at all, even if you have put in effort and shown that you're trying to do this, and you'll still get hit with the sea lining thing. But other times, yeah, if you have actually really put in the work to be like, really, please help me understand, and people can see that, then they will, sometimes they will respond to you. And I guess how often that is depends on the particular community you are in.
Yeah, and it's definitely community based. Like, I think some communities are more or less susceptible to sea lining. Some are going to be more or less tolerant of it, and like, I think the other side of the coin is this is an informal fallacy, proof by verbosity. And so, like, if you're to twist that a little, the problem is, like, you throw out, you're in a debate, you throw out 30 points, and then it's like, all right, well, I can't respond to all 30. And it's like, aha, you addressed points 1, 2, and 3, but not points, 4 through 30. So obviously I win. That's the informal fallacy. The downside is, like, if you were to, like, I don't know, if you wrote us a comment, if you sent us an email and you think we're wrong about something, and you wrote a 16,000 word essay with all of your research, and like then it ended with like, and so can you guys answer? Here's my research above. I can't guarantee I'll finish reading it. So there's a succinctness sweet point in there. You can say I've looked into this a lot, and I'm not trying to like give you guidance on just how to email me, but like, yes, if you had said, hey, I've looked into this and I'm being sincere. Here's some places I've looked. But, I agree. I think that's a great way to put it. I could just imagine my first place to go is like someone technically doing that, but still trying to like munchkin it. So they just come in again with this gigantic deluge of like, here's all the stuff I've looked at. And like, they just bore you to death. And I don't know. But obviously that defeats the point. That's not what they're getting at.
Yeah, I'm imagining trying to troll you isn't going to put in that much effort.
I think you underestimate some trolls.
Okay, that's fair.
But, well, I mean, that's fair. Maybe I'm overestimating trolls. Yeah, but that's also not that's me trying to poke holes in something that makes perfect sense and is a very reasonable thing. If I came, like the polyphasic sleep thing, when Jace brought it to our attention, and my immediate thought was like, I'm pretty sure people need more sleep than that. Otherwise, we'd be doing this all the time, right? Like we wouldn't just be discovering this. And you were like, I've heard about that. It sounds like it's a bad idea and it hasn't worked out. And Jace was like, I've heard both of those things. The stuff that I've done, I'm following a good guideline or a good rubric for this or something. It's a little different than what you guys are doing, so it makes sense to give it a shot. And it's like, cool, great, you got it. So like, if for whatever reason they were trying to persuade us of it, and they brought us something that anticipated both of those objections, and then hey, we're in a good spot, right? Yeah.
So yeah, those comments just I want to share about the sea lining.
That works.
I do have 2-3 kind of PSA sort of things before we wrap up.
Sounds like fun.
All right. First one is, I got this directly from the Savage Love podcast, run by Dan Savage, America's best sex advice columnist. First sex advice columnist? America's sex advice columnist. There's only the one.
Dan Savage is also a dope name, too.
Yeah, and it's his real name. Yeah.
I'll tell you, sorry, side note.
Yeah.
Coworker of mine has a friend named Bruce Carnage. And I'm like, what is he, like a fucking supervillain? And
Yeah.
I forget what this guy does, but like that sounds like a professional wrestler slash like fighter for hire slash bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, dope name, Dan Savage. It's hard. It's a yeah.
Yeah.
Carries more oomph than Steven Zuber.
I don't know. Depends how you dress it up.
Literally, Savage isn't in my name. So
Well, okay, yeah, there's that.
yeah, he just lucked out. Anyway,
So
that's my contribution.
most of the country has been pretty much isolated for the past 6 weeks, varying levels of isolation, but there's certainly been a lot less sleeping around going on, even among people who are normally like, have multiple partners. Point being, many STIs spread in the in the period where they can't be tested for and they don't have any symptoms, kind of like COVID-19 is often spread during the asymptomatic phase. But now that we've all been isolated for 6 weeks, just about every STI that is easily treatable will show up on tests after you've had it for 3 weeks. And if you haven't been having sex with people unprotected that you don't know, you have now had more than enough time to be in that window where it can be tested for. If everybody without like long-term monogamous partners goes and gets tested now, we can probably find and then treat a whole bunch of things, which obviously will not completely eliminate STIs because that'll never happen, but could put a serious dent in it for a decent amount of time, because now we can hopefully catch a lot of them in one go. So that is a thing that is recommended to any sexually active folks out there. I was about to say sexually active young people, but you know what? Old people have sex too.
Old people have a lot of sex, and STDs are rampant in like nursing homes and stuff.
Yes.
So,
but you probably haven't been isolating if you're in a nursing home.
No, yeah. So it doesn't apply to this particular case, but yeah, it's just a fact that many of us would rather not think about, that people are having sex in nursing homes. Yeah. Your grandma's getting laid probably, and they often don't have condoms at these places. So as weird as it might be, maybe drop a big box off for the front desk and say, "Can you distribute these, please?"
What a wonderful tangent.
Yep. So, this is in the spirit of our last episode of asking. Maybe this will be a nice Socratic grilling. Can't you treat like chlamydia with like 2 pills?
Yes.
Why don't they just give those pills to literally everybody over the age of 13 in the country? Because they're expensive, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I assume at least part of it would be the religious backlash. But that's a good question. I've never thought about that.
It sounds like we could just literally eliminate chlamydia then.
Wow. That's a good thing to look into.
I mean, I'm not going to fund this
and
adventure.
Also wouldn't literally eliminate chlamydia because it would come back into the country through other sources.
Well, yeah, when I thought of eliminate, I just thought doing this globally. But then, how do you get 14 billion pills into the mouths of everybody on the planet?
Yeah.
There's a logistics problem.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you could certainly curb it. And it's just an antibiotic or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the kind of antibiotic that works multiple times?
What do you mean multiple times?
Like if you get chlamydia when you're 19 and you get it again when you're 25, you
take
the exact
it's
same
not like
antibiotic.
a one-time. Oh, I don't know. Maybe by the time you get it again, things will have changed a little bit. But yeah, it's not like you use it one time and it never works again.
Because yeah, that does sound like the kind of thing that maybe if you're really sexually active, you just take this every year, and keep yourself chlamydia free. Well, I guess you'd be chlamydia free for at least a couple weeks. You don't really
need to, because if you're sexually active and doing it the right way, you're getting tested every 6 months anyway, and you aren't, sleeping with new partners without protection immediately upon meeting them. Gosh, I really hope I don't have to actually say these words, but just to make it very clear, there's protocols people take to protect their own health and the health of the community. But, sometimes things slip through, and this would be one way to help cut down a lot of those.
This puts me in mind of one of the cool thing that Sam Harris has been doing on his podcast lately is just like more laid back conversations, and they don't have titles, they have dates. And he's done a handful with Paul Bloom, and one of the more recent ones, they were just talking about, everyone's talking about the state of the world right now, and Paul was wondering like out loud if in the future, if people will be more cautious about this sort of thing, like will hookups be more of a thing than they were, or will they be less of a thing forever? Because they're definitely less of a thing now than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Will this stick around? Like this level of kind of caution around people. it's an interesting thing to think about, and I wonder if that would impact this particular kind of thing about STIs, like if people are going to just be less inclined to hook up with people. Yeah. Might not be afraid of COVID, but now their mind is allergic to germs.
At this point, it's only been a few weeks. I don't think it'll make that big a difference, but depending on how long it goes on and how severe it is, yeah, it could potentially. Speaking of which, we have talked a bunch about COVID-19 over at this other podcast that I'm involved in called The Mind Killers. It's me and two people from the Discord, and basically we talk about like politics and stuff that we shouldn't talk about generally, which is why we call it The Mind Killers. But if you've been listening to this feed, the last 4 episodes have been on this feed over the last 8 weeks, and it is no longer on this feed. It is on its own separate feed. So just a quick PSA, if that was anything you were interested in, you will never hear it here again. You have to subscribe at that feed to get any more of that.
Cool. I got one too. I'll grab this last one.
Okay.
Anyone who's familiar with Enyash's audio rendition of Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, which hopefully is all of you, if there's some possible universe where you're hearing this and haven't heard of that book, Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality was I think it is the most popular Harry Potter fan fiction on the net.
It certainly was at the time of its writing.
That's true.
I'm not sure if it still is because it's been a number of years, but I mean, it is at least one of the most popular still.
Yeah.
And at the time of its writing, it was the most popular.
And I think that was gauged by like the number of reviews on fanfiction.net or something.
It was the standard metric used.
Yeah. Read that book. It was great. I think you'll all love it. Eneasz did it wasn't just an audio book. It was a full-on audio production involving 100+ voice actors and music, some of it original music from people who listen to the book.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was great. So anyway, I've been doing a podcast. Oh, well, let me take this in another order. Last year or a year and a half ago or so, you published a book called What Lies Dreaming.
Yes.
Well, maybe it was 2 years ago. Time is, again, weird.
It was, I think, July of last year.
Okay. So at some point before you retired the Methods of Rationality feed, you did the first 3 chapters in audiobook form. Then at some point after that, but before I started my podcast on that feed called We Want More, which is I've talked about it before. Everyone's probably familiar, but I will say that I like that. If you guys have tried that and it wasn't your cup of tea, it's worth giving another shot. Just jump into a more recent episode.
We should say real quick that We Want More is a reaction/analysis podcast of Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
I was going to summarize it long form, but yeah, okay. Thank you. I mean, I was going to and then didn't because I thought it would take too long, but I didn't know you could do it succinctly. So,
okay.
Yeah, great. So yeah, it's another podcast I'm doing, comes out on Mondays, and the co-host is not in the rationalist community, and so like as such isn't like predisposed to already love it. And part of me, that's the big value of it, that at the end of this story we'll get to talk about like, hey, did you learn anything that you like are glad that you learned, or did you and also did you have fun, like did this accomplish its goals?
Have you changed your views on things? I mean, I'm sure I know he's heard of rationalists because he's a friend of mine. Like, I wonder what he thought of us before and how, if at all, that'll have changed after he's read this.
Me too. Yeah. And just, more importantly, like, not more importantly, but additionally, I'm wondering, will he walk away with, I learned something cool from this book. Yeah. I think I'm going to, apply that to my life. Like, if that happens, hey, mission accomplished. Yeah. We now have a data point that this book can reach people outside this sphere, which is cool. Anyway, if people have tried that podcast and stopped listening to it because you didn't like the discussion, give it another shot. We've gotten a lot better at it, and Brian hates the book a little less now because it's developed into more of its own thing. And hate is strong, but I got some of that feedback early on. But, I mean, he's been enthusiastic and enjoying the last dozen episodes.
I don't think he ever hated it. I know I said this earlier, but do you think he hated it at one point?
No.
Okay.
I think hate is too strong, but I know that he was accused of hating it.
Yeah,
so
well, because
no one could listen to him talk about the Stanford Prison Experiment arc and say he hates this.
Yeah. It's anyway. Because he comes at it with I've gotten a new insight into how people with different neuroarchitectures than ours think by listening to him, and like contrasting his reactions to things to my own, and then trying to think like, wow, how does your brain work that you come to such different conclusions? And like, not in a like, how does your brain work, man, kind of way, but like an actual, how does that work? And like, I feel I have a easier time of understanding people who aren't like me after having listened to this stuff.
That's a very valuable endorsement.
Okay.
I think that sounds great. Yeah, I mean, it's
Not that I agree with them, but I understand them a little more.
Right. It helps that he's articulate and spells himself out. So I think I enjoy it a lot, and it's a fun project for me. But if you also want, the transition to the whole point of this is that it's not just a sales pitch. What Lies Dreaming was, there was an audiobook project started by some listeners,
fans, friends, whatever, people on our Discord. God, whatever came out wrong. It's hard to call them fans. I guess they're fans, though.
They would have to be.
It feels weird to have fans. Like, I'm not a person with fans.
I'll say it then. So fans of Eneash's book and of his work were like, we want to listen to this. Man, are you going to do an audiobook of this? And you're like, I did the first 3 chapters. It's a lot of work. I don't think I'm going to do it. And they're like, well, we will. And you're like, all right, but on the not unreasonable chance that your enthusiasm wavers and you tucker out on this because it is a lot more work than it sounds like, I'll make the commitment that if you guys get halfway through and it looks like it's still going, I'll start airing them on the Methods of Rationality feed. Well, between that promise and when they got halfway through it, I had been on the feed for 3-4 months.
Yeah, you started at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
So 5 months now.
Geez, yeah, 5 or 6 because we're on episode 28, so 28 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were anyway. We Want More comes out on Mondays, and the audiobook of What Lies Dreaming will be coming out on Fridays in the same feed. So do check that out.
Yeah. I hope you guys all enjoy it, and eventually we'll be in one big audiobook, but for now, coming out 1 chapter per week.
And the specter of Scott Daly just appeared before me to remind you that this is not a Doof Media affiliated audiobook, although I don't think that I was going to say something about how I'm sure he'd love it, but we're not going to be able to get it on his reading list anytime soon.
No.
But yes, anyway, check it out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Look forward to that on the Methods of Rationality feed.
Cool. And before we go, we must thank a patron, as we always do, because the patrons are what keep us going. Okay, we'd like to thank Pointless One, the person who brought you this episode by their special request.
That's right. Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I know I flounder every time we thank the patron, but financial support means a lot. And it's not just about oh look we get a check or something. Much of it goes back into keeping our equipment up to par. I know that in the last few months you bought a solid state drive for your computer because that's the one we record on, and for annoying technical reasons it would occasionally lag on the standard memory, and we would lose data and it would suck. I've never gotten an orphan file, I think, when opening yours, where it has little bits that it knows are missing and it tells you about it. It saves everything and nothing gets lost.
Ever since we got that one.
Yeah. So that came right out of the Bayesian Conspiracies budget, and it was thanks to listeners like you. So thanks a lot, man.
And also provides us with a lot of...
I gendered Pointless One. I said, thanks, man, but I meant it I'm looking at my dude glasses I've got.
I've had someone occasionally tell me that man is a gender term, and I'm like... I mean, in some contexts, yes. Obviously, man is the noun for a male of the human species. But, lots of time when I say man, I don't mean man. I mean, man.
But I totally get how it's much less ambiguous, or it's much more non-ambiguously, it's much more obviously gendered than dude. So I'll say, thanks, dude.
I've literally said, aw, man, because I mean aw, geez.
Right.
Aw, shucks, aw, man.
Yeah.
And I do not mean it even the slightly gendered way there.
That's fair.
Just the spaying, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
Pointless One, thanks for everything, and thanks to everyone else who listens and does stuff. You can email us at BayesianConspiracyPodcast@gmail.com. I mentioned earlier that is where we are guaranteed to see what you say.
Mm-hmm.
If you are just wanting to join the conversation, in the episode description of every episode, both on the website and in your iTunes or in your podcast player of choices feed, is a link to the Discord. I've had a couple people message asking how to get on, and the link's in every episode and it's on the website. But that's a place where I don't know how many people, a couple hundred people are on there, and several dozen actives who are on there all the time. So there's always conversation on there. And if you want to talk to us, you can ping us on there, or we're occasionally floating around, especially in the last few weeks. There's also the subreddit.
There is the subreddit, which I check at least every week.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you Pointless One for your support. It really does keep us going.
Yeah, obviously, if you're noticing at all any financial strain during the hardship right now, or ever basically,
right?
Totally cut this from your cut supporting this show from your budget.
Yeah, there's people that are out of work and making no money.
Yeah, we hate to see you go, but you're not going anywhere. Keep listening, keep enjoying it. Don't think, how am I going to factor in my Bayesian Conspiracy Patreon donations? If that thought occurs to you, just don't and lose us.
Yeah.
Yeah. This shouldn't be. This is no obligation. We appreciate your support, but do not feel bad if like anything gets in the way of it.
Yes.
So
Take care of your life first.
yes, please. Perfect. I need to let you just do stuff. That was a 1-sentence summary of the 5-minute point I was trying to make.
You made it well too, though. The advantage of summaries is people already have the long thing, so like if you just saw the summary, it wouldn't make sense.
Succinctness is its own virtue.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's like the thing. Girl arrives at a strange location, murders the first person she sees, then teams up with 3 strangers to murder again. Is a very succinct summary of The Wizard of Oz.
Okay, you switched me back. Thank you. That was a very good.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you in a fortnight.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Puppy hiatus. Am I committing a rationalist sin?